in any case,
like that claim right there, that's a really big claim.
who is in it? Hunter, Joe, and a bunch of Mexican business people.
I'm gonna do a total brain reset, okay? I'm gonna zap my brain of all the information I know about this, all right?
Okay.
And then you and we're just gonna take a stroll through the internet, and you're gonna show me the things you've seen, and you're gonna build this argument for me that I don't even know what. I've already zapped my brain. I don't even know what your argument is. We're just gonna see what you have to say about it. The Burisma investigation timeline. What were the accusations? What were the results? How fast/was it progressing? Those are my questions. That would be the first thing. The second thing would be Joe Biden.
So Joe Biden, the president of the United States, continues to claim that he knew nothing whatsoever about Hunter Biden's businesses.
Oh, we all want to talk about Burisma. All right, what do we got, Ben?
This is not only unconvincing, it's pretty obviously a lie. Yesterday, the president of the United States was asked by a reporter about Hunter's business dealings. Obviously, he spent literally decades picking up bags of cash in far-flung countries ranging from China to Ukraine. And Joe said the whole time he had no idea any of that was going on. In fact, he had said until 5 minutes ago that Hunter never did anything wrong. Then Hunter had to plead guilty on a couple of misdemeanor charges. He should have been hit with a felony gun charge as well. He probably should have been hit with, as we'll examine, felony tax charges, violation of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, and all of the rest. He didn't get hit with that, possibly because Merrick Garland, the attorney general for Joe Biden, basically said to prosecutors, do not go forward with any attempt to investigate my son in full or prosecute him in full. But in any case, Joe Biden is continuing to stick with the fairly obvious lie.
Bro, wait. Can you imagine being this? Doing the jail stream with Aiden Ross today at 3 p.m. EST. Do me a favor and spam W Sneeko in chat. Some of his fans get butthurt when I talk about Ukraine, the vaccine, and the gender agenda. Very funny that the Rumble chat thinks I'm too normie now and the Kick chat thinks I'm too schizo. I will plan a desktop stream for tonight. Haven't forgot about the talent show. Tonight could be good for the talent show, actually. Oh my God.
And all of the rest, he didn't get hit with that, possibly because Merrick Garland, the attorney general for Joe Biden, basically said to prosecutors, do not go forward with any attempt to investigate my son in full or prosecute him in full. But in any case, Joe Biden...
So I wrote down like 5 little guides that I would give, 5 little points I have about covering politics from like a personal development or moral perspective. I feel like I should draft, and maybe I'll take these to fights with me. I feel like I should draft when I talk to people, hey, here are some things that I think every single person that does media should do. One thing that I would really like to see, I go through painstaking efforts to do this, especially with people that I hate, is if I tell you somebody said something, I almost always show you, like, if not a quote, like the full video, or if not the full video, then at least the quote. I really don't like this habit of, so anyway, we're going to talk about Joe Biden today, who yesterday said it was okay to drink the blood of children. And there was this issue that came up where he brought it, and it's like, show me that. Because like he's building a thesis off of claims that, in my opinion, require justification and almost beg the question. Like if what he's saying is true, it's so horribly bad and terrible. And it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Any attempt, Garland, the attorney general for Foreign Agents Registration Act, and all of the, with, as we'll examine, felony tax charges, violation of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, and all of the rest. He didn't get hit with that, possibly because Merrick Garland, the attorney general for Joe Biden, basically said to prosecutors, do not go forward with any attempt to investigate my son in full or prosecute him in full.
Hold on. This is a one-shot kill? Did he mix up Merrick Garland and Joe Biden there? Or it sounds like he said Merrick Garland said, don't investigate my son. Or was this a sentence I'm just not understanding? Hold on.
Examine felony tax charges, violation of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, and all of the rest. He didn't get hit with that, possibly because Merrick Garland, the attorney general for Joe Biden, basically said to prosecutors, do not go forward with any attempt to investigate my son in full or prosecute him in full. But in any case,
like that claim right there, that's a really big claim.
Even if I take this walk alone.
Right? Like I would like to see that substantiated. Like that claim in and of itself is like almost disqualifying as president of the United States. Like if the president of the United States is telling the DOJ, do not prosecute my son, that's a huge claim. And it's funny that like, I don't know if it's like a media illiteracy of, not of Ben Shapiro or Ben Shapiro's audience. Why would you not say like, here's a video showcasing where he said that thing, right? That's an insane, he said possibly? Is he referring to that one quote that we looked up where No, that was over something different. Where Joe Biden like privately said that he wished Merrick Garland would do something about Trump, and then people are like, Joe Biden applied pressure to Merrick Garland and pressured him into doing something. Is it like the same? His audience doesn't care. They're primed to believe it. Yeah, I'm treating Ben Shapiro as a good faith internet news doer here. Okay.
Joe Biden is continuing to stick with the fairly obvious lie that he knew nothing. I knew nothing about his son.
Mr. Biden, how involved were you in your son's Chinese shakedown text message? Were you sitting there? Were you involved?
No, I wasn't, and I don't.
Were you?
No.
No. Okay, well, I have some questions. Those questions involve like actual dates and times and timelines and texts, because the evidence is very, very strong that Joe Biden actually was receiving money through Hunter's foreign connections. Let's look at...
Like, that's a really big claim. That's a really big claim. That's... Depending on how that goes, that's arguably worse than anything Trump has done, right? That's a huge assertion.
Timeline for a second. So in 2013, when Joe Biden was vice president of the United States, this is NBC News reporting, Hunter Biden joined Joe Biden on a trip to China via Air Force Two. A quote, with granddaughter Finnegan in tow, the Biden men sipped tea in a Confucian-style tea house, leafed through books at local shops, and treated themselves to mid-afternoon ice cream. But almost 6 years later, Biden's trip to Beijing is coming under scrutiny amid revelations about Donald Trump's efforts to dig up information to corroborate his corruption allegations regarding Biden. So, says
Pisco, I don't know if you're doing that. Trying that right now, you're dead wrong. Depending on how that plays out, that would arguably be worse than anything Trump has done, right? If Joe Biden is creating U.S. foreign policy agendas to personally enrich himself to the detriment of the United States or other countries, that is arguably one of the, like, probably the worst thing a president has ever done in U.S. history. That would be insane. That would be an insane personal enrichment at the expense of U.S. foreign policy in other countries. That would be insane if that is the claim.
But almost 6 years later, Biden's trip to Beijing is coming under scrutiny amid revelations about Donald Trump's efforts to dig up information to corroborate his corruption allegations regarding Biden. So, says one of the NBC News reporters, he was with Joe Biden, apparently, during this trip. He was one of 4 reporters who traveled aboard Air Force Two with Biden and his son to China, a visit that was sandwiched between stops in Japan and South Korea. When we got on the plane on a bright Sunday afternoon at Joint Base Andrews, the Bidens were already on board, having just flown in from a family Thanksgiving gathering in Nantucket. What wasn't known then was that as he accompanied his father to China, Hunter Biden was forming a Chinese private equity fund that Associates said at the time was planning to raise big money, including from China. Hunter Biden has acknowledged meeting with Jonathan Lee, a Chinese banker and his partner in the fund during the trip, although his spokesman said it was just a social visit. The Chinese business license that brought the new fund into existence was issued by Shanghai authorities 10 days after the trip, with Hunter Biden a member of the board. So, again, think about those dates. We're now talking about 2013. Joe Biden brings Hunter Biden along with him on Air Force Two. 10 days later, Hunter Biden closes a round of funding from a Chinese business person. All Chinese business people at the top level are functionaries of the Chinese Communist government. Did they cut that deal with Hunter Biden because he is such an excellent business person?
Is it? So is this all the evidence? This is so weak. This might be what we talked about. Let's see. I think Rob will be ready soon, in like 10 minutes.
Person? Of course not. Hunter Biden's spokesperson, George Messiers, told NBC News that Hunter Biden wasn't initially an owner of the company and has never gotten paid for serving on the board. He said Hunter didn't acquire an equity interest in the fund until 2017, after his father had left office, which means that it was a delayed payoff. I mean, that's all that means. They cut the deal in 2013, and he basically said, I can't get the payoff until after my dad leaves office in 2017. In any case, the notion that Hunter and Joe were riding on Air Force Two to China together, and that Joe had no idea what Hunter was doing, that's really, really dubious. And of course, that's...
Okay, we'll see.
That's not the only...
We'll see what Rob Noerr says, I guess. This is disappointing.
Open business conversation that was happening in the immediate proximity of Joe Biden. According to Miranda Devine reporting for the New York Post in 2021, Joe invited Hunter's foreign associates to breakfast meetings at his vice presidential residence and to his office in the White House, according to Hunter Biden's laptop. He took his son on Air Force Two to countries where Hunter was doing business deals on at least one occasion, included one of Hunter's business partners on the trip itself. Among the more than 100 events scheduled in Hunter's diary at the VP's residence, at the Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C., there are meetings which appear to overlap with Hunter's business interests. According to the laptop, quote, breakfast with dad, Nav Ops, that's one such meeting, recorded for 8:30 a.m., November 19th, 2015. 5 photographs, date stamped on that day, taken at 10:03 and 10:04 a.m., appear on the laptop showing Joe posing with 4 of Hunter's business associates, including Mexican billionaires Carlos Slim and Miguel Alemán Velasco. Here is that picture. Who is in it? Hunter, Joe, and a bunch of Mexican business people. One photo also features Velasco's son.
Like, let's say hypothetically, they did do an illegitimate or illegal business dealing, right? Let's say that that was the case. Is it like, hey guys, just penned a mega illegal business deal that we shouldn't have been involved in, that would be impeachment worthy, pose for a photograph? Like, or is it like, hey, this is my dad, he's the president, like, do you guys want a picture? Right? Like, I feel like we need more than just a photograph. You need more than a photograph. There is no smoking gun here. Like, it's a picture. Like, chances are, this is just a guess, and I don't know this, okay? Because I haven't seen the president in real life before, or any ex-president in real life before. My guess is gonna be anytime you are in the vicinity of the president of the United States, or the vice president of the United States, you're probably gonna ask for a picture. That'd be a guess. Now, I could be wrong, but that'd be my guess, okay? The idea that I just like illegal selfie time. Like, now that that's not impossible, and I'm not saying this is exculpatory. Like, oh, they took a selfie. There's no way they did anything illegal. They could have, but I'm just saying, like, this is such weak evidence. It would be like saying, like, look, they all signed in on the Facebook check-in my location time at the same like hotel. They must be up to no good. Like, hey guys, check in for the illegal crack deal. Like, let's go. Like,
Miguel Alemán Magnani, the founder of budget airline Interjet, at whose Acapulco mansion Hunter and wife Kathleen had stayed that March. Jeff Cooper, a longtime Biden family benefactor.
Obviously ignoring the Hunter Biden cock pictures, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick guess. Just a guess. I'm going to guess that the Hunter Biden pics probably weren't going to ever go public. He probably didn't expect those things to be leaked publicly. That'd be my guess. These pictures, they look a little bit more, a little bit less candid, a little bit more posed. A little bit more now that's just a guess. I could be wrong, okay, but
who ran one of the largest asbestos litigation firms in the country, also appears along with Hunter. Cooper and Hunter had been working on energy deals in Mexico and elsewhere in Latin America. A 2013 email from Cooper demonstrates their high expectations of the association with the Alemán dynasty. Cooper's association with the Bidens began in 2005 when he started filing multi-million-dollar lawsuits in Delaware in connection with Joe's late son Beau Biden's firm, Biferato, Gentilotti, and Biden. When Joe became vice president, Cooper then put Hunter on the board of his venture capital firm, Eudora Global, and gave him shares in the business, netting Hunter about $80,000 a year, according to documents on the laptop. In 2015, Hunter also received a one-time payment of $300,000 from Eudora. So why exactly was Hunter Biden on the board? Well, to use his dad's name in order to obviously trump up business for Cooper. Simmons Cooper put up a $1 million investment in investment capital for Hunter and his uncle Jim's abortive attempt to run a hedge fund in 2009. When the venture ended, the Bidens returned the cash. Cooper joined the VP's entourage on Air Force Two to Mexico in 2016, where he and Hunter were trying to negotiate an ill-fated petroleum deal with Alemán Magnani. So, again, fairly obvious that Joe knew about all of this. He was squiring around Hunter's business partner. And that's, of course, not the only evidence. We get to more evidence of what exactly Hunter Biden was doing and the fact that Joe...
Okay, to be clear, so far we have seen absolutely zero evidence, Ben. But okay, just so we're all on the same page, right now we're sitting at no evidence, but maybe we're about to see some evidence.
He obviously knew about it in 1 second first. It takes a special kind of company to want to partner with our company here at Daily Wire. We say a lot of controversial stuff. A lot of people are afraid of us saying those controversial things. But Pure Talk is not afraid of that, which is why they stand behind us. It's just one reason we stand behind them as well. Pure Talk shares my values as well as the values of the other hosts here at Daily Wire. That's why we made them the official wireless partner of the Daily Wire, but that's not the only reason. We check the coverage. It's premium. Pure Talk is the most dependable 5G network in the United States. I use it myself. Mix and match your plans to fit every person in your family. Choose from talk, text, and 5G data for just $20 a month, all the way up to unlimited data with mobile hotspot for $55 a month. Remember, You vote with how you spend your money, so stop supporting woke wireless companies that don't support you and switch on over to Pure Talk today.
I hate woke wireless companies. Ugh.
Head on over to puretalk.com/Shapiro. Save an additional 50% off your very first month of coverage. That's puretalk.com/Shapiro. Pure Talk is wireless for Americans by Americans. I use their coverage. All my business calls are Pure Talk. Pure Talk is a great company. They'll give you great coverage, and they don't hate your guts like a lot of the other phone companies do. Go check them out right now.
Woke ones.
puretalk.com/Shapiro to save an additional 50% off your very first month of coverage. Okay, so other evidence that Hunter was connected with Joe and that Joe knew full well about it. So fast forward to May 23rd, 2017. On May 23rd, 2017, Hunter's business associate suggested a deal in which 10% of a Chinese business venture should be held by H for the big guy. Held by H for the big guy. So what exactly does that mean? People were wondering, who the hell is the big guy? What exactly is the big guy? Well, I mean, it turns out that the same business associate who says held by H for the big guy in his email also happened to be the same person who in other email exchanges and text exchanges calls Joe Biden the big guy. So that question was already answered.
Okay.
So what does it mean, held by H, 10% for the big guy, this Chinese business deal? That was May 23rd, 2017. Fast forward just about 2 months, July 30th, 2017.
Okay, let's say hypothetically that that's true. Do we have business transactions, financial statements, bank records? Is there anything to prove? Like, House Republicans must be subpoenaing or something. Do we have any information about any of this at all?
17. Joe Biden, his son, Hunter, has a WhatsApp to the head of CEFC China Energy Company. Quote, I am sitting here with my father. We would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled.
Hey, Steven, longtime fan from your up 2 days. Great seeing you still doing well, being passionate about stuff. Wanted to ask, do you have any background in stats? If not, when you read academia, how do you vet your academic paper citations? I mean, it just depends on the paper. But I mean, like, if a paper is cited by a lot of people, I don't think you normally need to, like, have a background in stats also to just understand a paper. But, I mean, I guess I'm also not doing, like, hyper-complicated analysis of econ papers, so.
What's happening?
Just chilling out, Max, relaxing.
I don't know if you're a Fresh Prince. I don't know if I'd go that far.
I am the Fresh Prince.
All right, so you wanted to talk about Biden corruption, the impeachment inquiry and stuff?
No, I just want to talk about the Hunter Biden stuff, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So
give me like 2 seconds to set this up so I can burn all my fuel off. I don't need this. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do, Rob. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm gonna do a total brain reset. Okay, I'm gonna zap my brain of all the information I know about this. All right.
Okay.
And then you and we're just gonna take a stroll through the internet, and you're gonna show me the things you've seen, and you're gonna build this argument for me that I don't even know what. I've already zapped my brain. I don't even know what your argument is. We're just gonna see what you have to say about it.
That's amazing. That's an amazing ability to be able to clear your mind like a tabula rasa.
Exactly.
All right. So I will start with this. I think that the real corruption that I'm focused on is from institutions such as the FBI. I don't really care. I don't care at all about Hunter Biden. I don't even really care about.
I care a lot about Hunter Biden. I don't even care about the institutional anything right now. I just want to know the Burisma stuff. That's what I am so concerned about.
That's what we'll focus on.
Okay.
So the question I have then is, given what we see at the FBI and the intensity that they investigated Donald Trump, including getting unlawful FISA warrants, why was their approach to investigating the Bidens so much different? And I think that it's clear that that's the real story here. But to prove that, I would have to prove, in this case, talking to you, that there's something to particularly this Burisma story. So is that fair as a precursor to start this?
Sure. Okay. Google Docs. We're just gonna write stuff down.
Okay.
File new. Okay, hold up. Document.
So I could give you, to start with, a timeline of the events on Burisma. Burisma is this company that's ran by this guy Zolchevsky. It used to be Minister of Ecology in Ukraine. Prior to Poroshenko coming into office in 2014, the President Yanukovych is pretty much universally considered a puppet of Russia. He's no ally to the United States. He gets ousted. We're not going to talk about Victoria Nuland's phone call, potential color revolutions. All of that's irrelevant to this story. But he gets ousted. The guy that comes in, Poroshenko, is basically an ally of the United States. So much so that the United States is basically taking them under their wing in the Obama-Biden administration, financing what would be the equivalent to their FBI. It's called the NABU, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. And so the United States is excited to get this ally that was formerly a Soviet country, formerly a Russian ally, and now it's going to be an ally of the United States. But everyone agrees there's tons of corruption pre-Shokin, pre-Poroshenko, tons of corruption post-Poroshenko in Ukraine. It's considered one of the most corrupt countries in the world, all metrics that show that. So in 2014, this is where the Burisma story really begins.
Okay, 2014. No, I'm right. Okay.
Yes.
2014. Burisma.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The prosecutor at the time, the head prosecutor general, is a guy by the name of Yerima.
Wait. Head prosecutor of what?
Of Ukraine, of the prosecutor general's office.
Okay.
So he is the prosecutor general. That'd basically be the attorney general of
Okay, he's
Ukraine.
like the AG. Okay, what's this
Correct.
guy's name?
Yerima, I believe say Yarema.
Yarema. Yerima. Okay, go ahead.
Yep. And he's basically all of these anti-corruption activists in Ukraine and people around the world think that he's corrupt, just like all the other prosecutors that's been there. He's an ally of the president Poroshenko, but he's not really taking down any of these corrupt officials. And there's complaints in the United States in Western institutions because of this. One of the cases he's investigating is that of Zlochevsky and Burisma.
Okay, wait. He's investigating. What? How do you spell Zlochevsky or whatever?
Zlochevsky, ZLO.
CLO.
CHEVSKY.
Okay, he's investigating Zlovesky and
Zlochevsky.
Zlochevsky
Yes,
and Burisma. Okay.
Well, at least he's supposed to be. And so what's going on is there's accusations that when Zlochevsky was the Minister of Ecology, that he was corruptly giving his own company all of the best drilling permits. So he basically was stealing the natural resources and the money of the people of Ukraine.
The best.
Now,
okay, Zlochevsky was giving his company the best mining permits and stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
And I also, if you would like, I'll flag. I talked to our mutual acquaintance Pisco a lot about this case. So if you like, I will flag when he would start to disagree with me. So far, everything I'm telling you,
don't worry.
I think everyone.
I don't even know who that guy is. My brain is getting wiped of everything
You're
related to that.
better. So at least you're already ahead. Better for not knowing Pisco. So that's been beneficial today. So so this is agreed upon by pretty much everyone in the West that this was what was occurring. So he had bank accounts all over the world. Zlochevsky. Some of his bank accounts were in the UK. And
Okay,
the
wait.
UK,
Let me put another thing on this guy. Okay, hold on. Zlochevsky. Okay, so this guy, okay, giving his company the best mining permit stuff. He's got bank accounts all over the world. Okay.
So the UK courts start to investigate because they feel that this money has been obtained by corrupt means. And so they put a freeze on the assets of Zlochevsky that are in these UK bank accounts. And what they're freezing it for is they're looking for cooperation from investigators in the Ukraine to provide evidence that Zlochevsky's corrupt. They will not allow him to have access of this money if they find him to be guilty of the crimes that he's alleged.
Okay, gotcha.
What happens is Zlochevsky is tipped off by prosecutors in the Ukrainian PGO under Yerima. Two prosecutors, which they later found out their names, I don't remember their names, but at this point it's just prosecutors, we don't know who, under Yerima, reach out to Zlochevsky and basically say, hey, we know the UK's freezing these assets, but we're not investigating you for anything. We don't have any evidence of your corruption.
Okay.
Zlochevsky's team then takes that letter to the UK courts, which basically forces the Ukraine court, the judge, to unfreeze the assets because he's like, I can't keep these frozen if even the prosecutors in Ukraine say there's no crime here.
Okay.
This results in infuriating the West. It infuriates the Obama-Biden State Department, infuriates the UK, the IMF.
Wait, who took these letters to the to who? So you say that part again?
These the prosecutors sent a letter to Zlochevsky,
Yes.
tipping him off about the UK investigation and basically writing a letter to exonerate him that said,
Where
not
did they write this
investigating-"
letter to? Wrote it to the UK?
No, they wrote it to Zlochevsky.
Yeah, but how did he get exonerated?
Because Zlochevsky's lawyers and team then takes that letter to the UK and
Okay.
says, look, the court or the prosecutors in Ukraine. Now, I'm fuzzy on the exact detail, but this is the general story that's told. So I've never seen a copy of this memo.
That's
I
fine,
don't
that's
know
fine,
if that's
that's
been
fine.
made public.
I just wanna-
but
yeah,
that's the story. So that's where that's when you first hear claims, and you hear this all over the place, when people say the prosecutor's office in Ukraine was basically screwing around and helping cover up this corruption, which resulted in the UK unfreezing these assets. The reason that places like the IMF, the United States, the UK, and other places like that are heavily interested in this is they're sending tons of money to the government of Ukraine, to the prosecutor's office in Ukraine. They're sending, the IMF sending loans, which would be the $1 billion loan guarantee that
When you were talking about Zlochevsky's bank accounts being frozen, you were talking about his bank accounts in Ukraine or in the UK?
So it's difficult to determine exactly when his accounts were frozen in Ukraine, but I'm talking right now about his bank account in the UK. I'm
Okay,
not
gotcha.
talking
Okay,
about
just making
Ukraine.
sure, just making sure. Okay.
Yep. So that's when it starts. So this is Urema. I believe it is December 2014 then. I believe it's Ambassador Jeffrey Pyatt goes to the prosecutor's
Wait,
office.
December 2014, who?
Pyatt, I believe is who this was.
Pryott.
I could be
P-R-I-O-T. Who's this guy?
P-Y-A-T-T.
P-Y-A-T-T.
He is the ambassador to the Ukraine for the United States.
Ambassador.
Or wait. I could be wrong on this detail. It's either Pyatt or George Kent, who works for the State Department. I'm getting those two names confused. But an official for the United States, I'll say, because I don't want to mislead people into saying something.
Okay.
But he goes and talks to the prosecutor's office in Ukraine, and it's basically like, who took a bribe to do this? And Yerema starts laughing. He's like, yeah, we get why you'd say that. And the U.S. official's not bullshitting. He's like, no, seriously, who took a bribe? And that's how serious the United States was. And so you started to see reports from all of these organizations, the UK, the IMF, the United States, saying there is corruption in these courts or in the prosecutor's office because they basically probably took a bribe to allow these unfreezing of funds in the UK. Now, in mid-2014, simultaneously, so this is mid-2014, Hunter Biden joins the board of directors of Burisma.
Okay.
At the time he joins...
Wait, and was this December of 2014 or when in 2014?
No. This is like mid, I think. Oh, shit.
Okay,
May?
that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Mid 2014.
Correct.
Hunter Biden, okay, joins Burisma. Gotcha.
Yes. And you could hear from the testimony from the interview of Devin Archer and on Tucker, plus then his testimony, that this is how this played out. Devin Archer was in this business relationship with Hunter Biden.
Wait, who's Devin Archer?
Devin Archer is the business partner of Hunter Biden, and they created Rosemont Seneca, I believe is the name of their company.
Okay.
And they were sort of, I forget what the term, like sort of like venture capitalists. Like they were, what they were doing was they raised funds, like angel investor, I believe is the term he used, is what they were.
Yeah.
Do you know what angel investing is?
I mean, in my industry, angel investing is typically when you get these investors that come in out of nowhere, and they usually provide huge boosts of initial capital equity, sometimes for low amounts of ownership or equity in a company or whatever. But yeah, there are people that come out of nowhere and make big, awesome, amazing initial investments on usually risky stuff. Yeah.
Right. That's better than I could have explained it. So that's what they were doing. They were, he was small time. Devin Archer was doing this small time at first. He's being an angel investor trying to raise capital. Then he would, take fees for his ability to raise capital and invest in certain things.
Okay.
He joins with Hunter Biden, and he says, why not? To get a Biden on your side would be a good thing. By the way, that's not criminal. That's fine. Right. But that was the idea. So he partners with Hunter. He is in Ukraine, and he's going to talk to this guy, Zlochevsky, about being an angel investor in some pitch that he has for some company that he's trying to get investments for. So he gets this offer, and while he's
pitching,
there...
Archer's pitching stuff to Burisma, okay?
Correct.
Okay, go
right?
ahead.
So while he's there, the way he describes it is, this is when the Crimea attack happens. So he's literally there in 2014 when Russia invades. Right? You follow me so far? So he's like, kind of like, wow, this is like a crazy coincidence. He sits down with Zlochevsky, and he doesn't know. He's kind of nervous because he's like, well, my whole pitch is basically shit on now because the on-the-ground situation in Ukraine is changing so much. He says Zlochevsky listens to him politely, but he's not interested. He's like, But he offers Hunter Biden an offer. He says, I want you to go to Poland and talk to the president
Wait,
of Poland.
quick. Why are they why are they pitching this to Zlochevsky? This guy is the owner of Burisma?
Yes,
At the
because
time?
Zlochevsky's one of these dudes that he does this. So
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
basically, Rosemont Seneca's job is to,
Yeah, I understand. Keep going. Go to the next
you,
one. Okay,
Destiny, have a project, you reach
yeah,
out to them
I don't
for investors.
I don't need an analogy. I got it.
Gotcha,
Go
gotcha.
Okay.
So
what
they
about
reach out.
Zlochevsky? Because pitch on the ground is bad. Go ahead.
Correct. So Zlochevsky's the kind of dude that would invest in this stuff. He says not interested, but I would be interested in you listening to this offer to join my board of directors here on Burisma.
Mm-hmm.
One of the people that's on the board of directors is the president of Poland. I would like you to go talk to him. So Devon Archer's basically like, well, shit, sure. So he flies, I believe, to Poland and talks to the president of Poland. And the president of Poland spins this story to Devon Archer like, we think you would be great in sort of going around and being an angel investor, trying to get investors for Burisma. We think you'd be great for that. So we want you on the board of directors.
Board of
Devon
directors
Archer,
of Burisma, right?
correct.
So
Devon Archer
the
agrees.
Polish president convinced Archer to join Burisma on the board of directors?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So Devon Archer agrees, and he comes back and he talks to Hunter Biden, and he wants Hunter Biden to be legal counsel because Hunter Biden has a law degree, right? So at this point, Hunter's not on the board. He's just legal counsel to Devon Archer, who's on the board, right? They then have a meeting. I can't remember where this meeting is, but it's some, like Davos, one of those type of places, like somewhere in Europe. And they have this meeting. And at the meeting, Devon Archer says the people in Burisma approached Hunter Biden and said, how would you like to be on the board of directors?
Okay.
And I believe that's in May of 2014. And Devon Archer said in his interview with Tucker, that was his oh shit moment when he realized like, this company that's accused of corruption and things of that nature, now the vice president's son's on the board of directors. So that's how Hunter Biden came on. And it is clear that the reason that they wanted Hunter Biden was, as Devon Archer testified, Hunter Biden was the brand. The Bidens were the brand. And we've had testimony from anti-corruption people and others in Ukraine that have said that having a Biden on the board of directors was a signal to all of the prosecutors and everything in Ukraine, don't fuck with us, right? You're reliant on the United States for your survival, basically, with all these grants and stuff that's coming into Ukraine and for protection. So now the vice president's son's on our board. Don't mess with us.
Okay.
That's the signal that was sent. Now, none of that so far, that could entirely be true that happened without the knowledge of Joe Biden. So we haven't got to Joe Biden's specific connection. Mm-hmm. In other words, I know you're not making this argument in this current discussion, but a lot of people say, what about Jared Kushner and Trump?
I don't even know. Hold on. Don't even worry about them. Let's just build on this.
Okay, fine.
My brain is being filled with information, yeah.
Gotcha. Take a little drink here. Okay, so Hunter's on the board in 2014, right? Mm-hmm. The UK assets thing, then we already explained what happened there. So basically, in February of 2015, Yerema gets the boot. He's considered corrupt. This prosecutor general gets the boot, and in comes a person that was a deputy under him in the PGO, a man by the name of Viktor Shokin, who's been this sort of lifelong friend of President Poroshenko. So he comes in, I believe he comes into power officially February 12th, but it's somewhere in between February 12th and February 15th of 2015. Is when he's in office. After he comes into office, there's initially sort of rosy interactions with Shokin. One of the conditions the United States is offering is they want to create this special anti-corruption unit within the PGO. Now, here's where I may differ from people that might say, no, wait a minute, I don't agree with Rob here.
What is that PGO again?
The Prosecutor General's Office of Ukraine.
Which is the same thing as our
DOJ, like our Attorney General. Yes, correct. It would be similar to that. Obviously, it's not an apples-to-apples comparison, but yes, that's basically their head prosecutor office. So what I think's going on is the United States, it's not that they're benevolent. They want a unit in that prosecutor's office that they could direct. We have evidence that they were reaching out to the National Anti-Corruption Bureau, this sort of FBI that they helped create and fund, the Obama-Biden State Department. And despite testimony to the counter, we have evidence, for example, from State Department member George Kent, that he was sending emails to him saying, hey, some of these people you're looking into at the Anti-Corruption Action Bureau, anti-corruption agencies or nonprofits in Ukraine, we don't think you should look into them. Now, that's not important for what we're talking about.
Repeat that last thing again? Sorry.
The George Kent at the State Department, he sent a letter at one point to the prosecutor's office in Ukraine asking them to stop investigating this agency called the Anti-Corruption Action Bureau, which was a nonprofit that was partially funded by the Soros Open Society and the Obama-Biden State Department. And basically, George Kent saying, we don't think they're corrupt. We think that it's misleading. We've sent you a lot of aid. This is the wrong direction to be going in. Pisco or someone like that would say, well, that's because these were good people and corrupt prosecutors were going after good people. That might be true, but what I'm telling you is I'm just using that as an example to show that I think what the United States, the reason they want this special unit instead the prosecutor's office is they want people that they can trust to be at their beck and call. They want a prosecutor, if they say, go after this guy, they will. They want a prosecutor, if they say, don't go after this guy, they won't. That's my belief.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. That's one of their big pitches to Shokin. They want this bureau.
Gotcha.
And what eventually will happen is that bureau is created, but there's accusations that it's being stymied, that basically Shokin's not giving them proper authority, not cooperating with the United States enough, et cetera, et cetera. That's sort of the argument that's going to come forth. But as of February, he comes in February. Initially, there's optimism that they'll be able to work with him. The first real event of note is June of 2015 after this, where Victoria Nuland, Assistant Secretary, sends an email or sends a letter personally to Shokin and says, we're happy with anti-corruption efforts, but more needs to be done. So the reason this is important is, as of June, she seems to be talking glowingly of, in general, anti-corruption efforts, but says more needs to be done. She's certainly not threatening Shokin or calling for his firing. Then we see the next incident of note is in September, Ambassador Pyatt gives a speech in Odessa, and in that speech, he talks about corruption in the Prosecutor General's office. And the big case that he uses to identify that corruption is the Burisma case. He talks about how the UK had to unfreeze these assets because corrupt prosecutors within the PGO tipped off Burisma. Now, as I've already explained to you, this was an event that occurred prior to Shokin's tenure. Now,
Wait,
I think
is that true?
And it's absolutely true.
Wait. Just being crystal clear, because you made it sound like when Shokin was appointed that he had been working under the prior AG where this happened.
That is absolutely true. He was working for the Prosecutor General's office.
So when you say it was
true.
prior to his tenure, he was working in that office. He just wasn't their Attorney General.
Prior to his tenure as the Prosecutor General.
Okay,
right?
just making sure we got that. Okay.
Right. So, and he says at the end of that speech, he looks forward to working with Shokin to fight this corruption. But to be fair, it is clear he is not speaking glowingly of Shokin's office. Right? He's not saying you're doing a bang-up job. He's saying there's a lot of problems here. But he doesn't call for the firing of Shokin or anything like that.
Okay.
There are communications we can see that are occurring through this time of Burisma officials emailing Hunter Biden, talking about setting up meetings, and there are meetings that are occurring with people connected to Burisma and Hunter Biden, to U.S. officials and things like that, people at the State Department. We can get into more specifics of that as we get down the timeline here. But the big important issues that we're getting to here now is, in November 2nd, 2015, a guy who's like I forget his official position, but like he's a very high up at Burisma, the undersecretary or something like that. His name's Porzharskyi.
Okay.
I don't know how to pronounce that. He sends an email to Hunter Biden and Devin Archer. And in this email, he says, listen, they're talking about hiring this firm, Blue Star Strategies, this public relations firm in the United States. And they're saying, we need tangible results. So this guy's emailing Devin and saying, he's like, I hear the points you brought up in the meeting, but we need tangible results. They hired Hunter Biden to get this shit closed. It's not getting closed. So that's what they're saying. We need results. And they're like, we need results in your high-ranking U.S. contacts to sway their opinions on officials in Ukraine. And one of the officials he says is the prosecutor general, who would be Shokin. And he says at the end of that email, the ultimate goal is the closing down of the investigations into Burisma. Now, it's difficult to find information on this, but at some time, a lot of people say it was under Urema, but I don't know. And I'll explain to you why there's confusion. The assets of Zlochevsky had been frozen in Ukraine, and he had fled the country. He was no longer in Ukraine. He was heavily being investigated. He felt his assets had been frozen. There were cases on the books, case numbers that had been opened. It is clear from this email that they feel there are open, active investigations into Burisma, and that they want Hunter Biden to reach out to his high-profile contacts in the United States to help deal with that pressure. That email is November 2nd. Now, I don't want to get the dates wrong on this. I believe it is November 5th. You could find a summary of a call-out that Vice President Biden made with President Poroshenko. This is November 5th, 2015. In that, he says, quote, the United States' willingness to provide a $3 billion loan guarantee to Ukraine contingent on continued Ukrainian progress to investigate and prosecute corruption. It mentions Shokin not once. So as of November 5th, 2015, there is nowhere that shows that there was any contingency on the guarantee of this loan to fire Viktor Shokin. Definitely there is continued pressure to cooperate with the United States to out corruption, but nowhere is it being said publicly, fire Viktor Shokin. So this email, again, comes from November 2nd, telling Hunter Biden, we want you to reach out to high-profile contacts with the ultimate goal of getting investigations to us closed now. The first time that any mention of firing Shokin comes up is November 22nd, 2015. A Ukrainian desk officer, and I can send you the link to this. This comes from John Solomon's reporting, and it has a timeline. Ukrainian desk officer for the State Department forwards Vice President Biden's talking points for Ukrainian Prime Minister Yatsenyuk and President Poroshenko. A condition to fire Shokin is now added. So that's November 22nd. So the timeline we see is November 2nd, there is an email sent out to Hunter Biden saying, we want you to deal with high-profile U.S. people, to deal with their opinions of profile people in Ukraine like the Prosecutor General's office, with the ultimate goal of closing these investigations. Then on November 22nd, that's exactly what's being said. On December 3rd, 2015, Eric Sherwin, who's a business partner and associate of Hunter Biden, says the Wall Street Journal got back to us and plans to run an article in the coming days. According to the email time obtained from Biden's laptop, the paper was still attempting to get an answer from Hunter Biden about his potential conflict of interest between his father's anti-corruption message and his role on the board. Right? Mm-hmm. On December 4th, the following days, the New York Times, following the Journal, submits a request for comment on Hunter Biden's role with Burisma, the corruption investigations in Ukraine, and Burisma's lobbying. FTI's consulting TUI responds, no one is lobbying on behalf of Burisma. Blue Star Strategies, however, had been retained by the group. That same day, Porzharskyi and Zlochevsky request a call with then Vice President Hunter Biden while the Burisma board is meeting in Dubai. Devin Archer testified that he was in a meeting and he heard, it was just the four of them, Devin Archer, Hunter Biden, Zlochevsky, and this Porzharskyi guy. And Zlochevsky says to Hunter Biden, call your dad to help us deal with pressure from, and I'm quoting now in Devin Archer's testimony, Ukrainian government investigation. So it is evident, despite all of people's claims to the contrary, that Shokin wasn't investigating. That wasn't occurring. There weren't active investigations in Ukraine. It is evidentially not true, at least to Zlochevsky, because he is telling Hunter Biden, call your dad. I feel I'm under pressure from, quote, Ukrainian government investigations.
Okay, Zolchevsky. Okay, hold on. Zolchevsky tells Hunter, call dad and get these guys off of me. What was the approximate date of that? I'm guessing this happens before?
The exact date was December 4th, 2015.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Now, in his... The defense of this, and I'll be totally honest.
Don't even give me the defense.
Okay,
Just
all
tell
right,
me. Yeah,
we'll
keep
get to
going.
that later,
Yeah.
right? We'll get to that later, right? So, Archer isn't in the room when they make the call. He later's in a limo, and he says Porzharskyi and Hunter Biden tell him, yeah, I called my dad. So the call happened. To be fair, Devin Archer does not testify that he knows what was said on the phone. He just knows Zolchevsky said, call your dad and deal with Ukrainian government pressure, and then the call was made. 3 or 4 days later, Joe Biden is on a plane on his way on a scheduled meeting to go to Ukraine and talk with Poroshenko. I forget the name of the business or of the assistant to Biden, but I can show you video if you want. In an interview that admits it was Biden himself that came up with the idea of issuing a quid pro quo to fire Shokin. So while
Wait, what is the quid pro quo?
The quid pro quo is Biden would tell the president of Ukraine, Poroshenko, we will not give you $1 billion. What they wanted was the IMF was going to give $1 billion loan to Ukraine, but only on the condition that the United States guaranteed that loan, backed it with their money. Biden tells Poroshenko, you will not receive that money. We will not back that loan up of $1 billion unless you fire Viktor Shokin. Poroshenko says no, basically. He's like, no, we don't see evidence of corruption. We don't want to do that. Biden, in his Council on Foreign Relations speech, says, I'm not leaving unless you do it. And Poroshenko says, you're not in charge, Obama is. And Biden says, call him. He's going to back me on this. As a result, Shokin isn't fired that day. But what happens in around February, he tenders his resignation under pressure from Poroshenko. And then it's confusing. He kind of waffles back and forth. He resigns, but then he doesn't. And then he's basically ousted in March. During this time in early February, this is what I said about assets being frozen. There's some confusion. At some point, assets of Zolchevsky had been frozen in these Ukrainian investigations. What happened was that one of the higher courts in Ukraine changed the interpretation of the law into when their prosecutors are allowed to freeze assets. And due to this change, the assets were unfrozen. So Shokin's office quickly scrambles and reapplies and gets those assets frozen again. This happens in early February.
Whose assets are we talking about?
Zolchevsky's, the head of Burisma.
Oh, okay. So assets are frozen and then unfrozen and then refrozen, or?
Correct. So at some point, whether they were frozen under Shokin or the prior prosecutor Yerema, these assets of Zolchevsky were frozen. So the idea that we were told there was no investigation, it's not true. The investigation may not have been progressing to the point that it was going to find him guilty, but it certainly pisses Zolchevsky off because all of his so many of his assets, cars, his mansion, all of this stuff was frozen. And he was so worried about it that he had fled the country and wasn't there. When the assets get unfrozen, Viktor Shokin and his office themselves step forward to refreeze those assets. Devin Archer, in his interview with Tucker Carlson, specifically goes into details about how Viktor Shokin he was worried about Viktor Shokin, Zolchevsky, freezing these assets, he fled the country, etc. So he specifically names Shokin freezing these assets as a reason. Whether Shokin was the one who originally froze them or not, he kept them frozen up until this court reversed it, and then he fought back and got them frozen again in February. Despite this, he's ousted. The man that comes in for Shokin ends up coming in May. He's a man by the name of Lutsenko. At the time, Biden admits in his Council on Foreign Relations speech, they thought Lutsenko was a good guy. The problem is Lutsenko, the same anti-corruption activist that complained about Shokin, who, keep in mind, the reason that they wanted him ousted, that we're told, is because he wasn't properly investigating anti-corruption measures. The case they talked about the most was the Burisma case, right? He only had, let's see, he came in February, and they were calling for his dismissal at the end of November. So in about 10, 11 months is what he had before they said, that's enough, you're fired. Litsenko will come in.
Okay, do we need any of this? The rest
Yes,
of this?
I'll be real brief with it. Litsenko comes in, and within 5 months, he buries the case into Burisma. So much so that Burisma's representatives are writing letters and doing interviews to the Kiev Post, celebrating how it was just a small tax fine they had to pay, there was no criminality, and Zlochevsky comes back to the country and starts doing business again. Hunter Biden remains on the board. And despite all of this, one of the last acts that Biden makes is 3 days after the case against Burisma is officially closed, he gives a speech in Ukraine celebrating their anti-corruption efforts. No one that spoke up about the corruption of the Burisma's case previously in the Obama-Biden State Department ever publicly breathes a word about it again. 3 years Litsenko's in office, 3 years, and never once is he pressured by the same people in the State Department. Many of them are now holdovers that are working through Trump. They never once pressure him to be fired. Despite 3 years of corruption, the anti-corruption activists being furious, and they knew Litsenko was corrupt from the get-go, because one, he didn't even...
I don't think... Okay, all right, I think we're good.
Well, it's... Okay, so that's the general story.
Okay, let me see if I can summarize our talking points here, okay? Just the big bad wrongs, okay? So it seems like Burisma was up to some bad stuff. The Zlochevsky guy was up to some bad stuff. He was so bad, his accounts got froze, even in the UK, right? And he was being investigated by a prosecutor dude. That prosecutor dude eventually gets thrown out. What was the name of that guy before? Oh, Urema.
Yes.
He gets thrown out because Urema was probably a bad guy, right? Because people in his office were giving notice to the Zlochevsky guy that his accounts are going to get frozen, right?
Right.
After he gets thrown out, the USA starts to get a big hand into the PGO, into the Ukrainian prosecutor people. We've got Archer and Hunter Biden are on the board of this Burisma company. Oops. Did I just shut my shit up? Oh. And then it seems like now we've got Shokin that comes out, and apparently the U.S. and Biden, nobody has anything bad to say about Shokin. But then Archer, and then Archer and Biden supposedly start complaining that Burisma is being unfairly investigated by this office, and then Shokin now is suddenly enemy number one by Biden. And now Biden starts going to Ukraine and saying, listen, you need to get rid of this guy. And then finally they toss Shokin, ostensibly because he was investigating Burisma, at the behest of Biden and Archer. And then all of the assets and everything by the big bad guy from Burisma, whatever the fuck that guy's name is, Zlochevsky, get unfrozen. He comes back to Ukraine. Hunter goes to Ukraine. Everybody's giving speeches. Everybody's happy because now Burisma has finally been freed from the prosecution. Under the direction, supposedly, of Joe Biden, correct?
Correct.
And then throughout this, Joe was probably getting some sort of financial kickback or something, right?
Well, it would be irrelevant if he was. There are accusations. So we have several accusations. We have accusations from Tony Bablinski in the email saying the big guy that was getting 10% from that was different. That was the CEFC, the China deal, but that he was getting kickbacks, that shows, from the money that Hunter Biden was getting. We have an email from Hunter Biden saying it won't be like that. But more importantly, it doesn't really matter. Like, I'll ask you now that I've outlined the case. If the case I've outlined is accurate and Joe Biden got a call from his son saying deal with this pressure, and then he fired this prosecutor, and then the pressure was dealt with, it doesn't really matter if Joe Biden himself got money. That would still be corrupt, correct?
Probably, yeah.
So
the real question would be, here are the big questions that I have, okay? One is, what was Burisma initially accused of? What was the investigation into them doing? What was the progress of that investigation through their multiple attorney general equivalents? And so like the Burisma timeline. Here are the questions. Wait, don't. Okay. So like the Burisma investigation timeline. So what were the accusations? What were the results? How fast / was it progressing? Those are my questions. That would be the first thing. The second thing would be Joe Biden. Did Hunter explicitly ask him to intervene? Was Joe Biden working as a representative for stated U.S.-EU policy? Those would be my next two questions. And then my final question would be, I think probably financial kickbacks. Did Joe Biden receive money? Also, did Joe Biden receive, well, as part of that other Joe Biden thing, did Joe Biden subvert U.S. policy, question mark. And then did Joe Biden receive money for helping his son, question mark. I think these would be like the broad questions I would have.
Okay, so let's start with your first one. Go ahead, and I'll try my best. When I can answer, I will. When I don't know, I'll tell you.
Well, here's a question, I guess. Oh, no, wait, hold on. And then also, Shokin. Okay. Was Shokin corrupt? Did the EU/US think he was corrupt? Why? Okay, that would be a big thing around him too. Okay.
Okay. So what was your first question?
Let's start with this question for Joe Biden.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Did Hunter Biden, what is our proof that Hunter Biden explicitly asked his father to intervene?
We don't have proof in the form of the phone call. What we have is circumstantial evidence that clearly would justify an investigation, which is what my criticism has been.
Sure. Can you let's go over that. Can you give me like a news article or a summary? You could go to the testimony of Devin Archer, who outlines very specifically December 4th. Sure. Wait. Okay. Can you link me that testimony? I just want to read stuff now.
Sure.
We can read it together.
Let me see if I can find it here. I don't have this pulled up.
That's fine.
In my defense, I didn't know I was streaming tonight.
You're totally fine. No worries. It's not on the spot. I'm just reading shit. So.
Okay. Come on, what's this damn computer doing? All right.
Pisco has linked a thing.
Haha, what's up, Pisco? Yeah, he could give you help.
Okay, Devin Archer transcript.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay. Let me see if I can find the page.
Can you tell me what was said? Like a couple words, and I could probably Control F and find it?
Yeah, a Ukrainian government investigation was one of the words. So page 34.
I see it.
Okay, and I'll just read. They're talking about being in the Four Seasons. Why did they join you? They ask.
Wait.
Sure.
I want to go back up to 31. Okay.
Okay, no problem.
Just so I can get some context. By Mr. Mandolfo. Is that one of the attorneys here?
Yes.
Okay. And I now want to turn your. Let's do. Do you want me to be Archer, or do you want to be Mandolfo?
I'll be Mandolfo because Archer seems like someone that you would get along with. He seems kind of like a partier.
Okay,
so
let's go.
And now I want to turn your attention to Exhibit 4. And this is an email from Vadym Porzharskyi.
Wait, you mean an email from me, right?
Saying this works. What are you reading?
This is an email from you to Vadym Porzharskyi, right?
Yes.
Okay, yep, okay. So, saying this works for me?
I'm just going to put everyone else who's on it too. Copying Hunter Biden, Sebastian Montesi, and Joan Pugh.
Uh-huh.
Dated October 5th of 2015 with the subject regarding next BOD meeting. And then starting at the bottom, it appears to be an email from Mr. Porzharskyi, and it describes a board of directors meeting in the first week of December in Dubai, and that people would fly in on December 3rd, and there would be a board of directors meeting midday of December 4th. And then your response, as you just said, was, this works for me, correct?
Uh-huh, correct.
Do you recall the board of directors meeting in Dubai?
Yes.
Before going to Dubai, do you remember going to Kiev in Ukraine?
I don't remember. Like right on the same trip?
Yes.
Did I?
If you don't remember, you don't remember.
I don't remember.
It's not a trick question.
I don't. On that particular trip in December, I've been to Kiev, but I don't remember it being connected with that trip. It was December? What year?
Of 2015. Mr. Schwartz says, if you don't remember, it's okay.
I'm sorry, I don't remember. I don't remember if we stopped there.
And do you remember going to the board of directors meeting in Dubai?
Yes.
And do you remember who was at that meeting?
Jesus. Yes.
Good luck.
Alan Apter, Alexander Kwasniewski, Milkov Zlovsevsky, Vadym P, Hunter Biden, and then some other executives. And then there were 2 Cyprus board members that I can't remember their names.
And who is Alan Apter?
He was a board member. He's a London banker.
Do you remember what was discussed in that board meeting?
Of December 2015?
Yes.
We were in the Burisma Eurasia, was in high gear, and we set up a big office there. That was kind of my content-like piece, as well as Burisma Geothermal had been set up. I just came from a geothermal conference in Reno, I think, right before that. I just remember that because my brother joined. So those are like my content, and the rest of it would have been, reviewing the financials and production and et cetera, et cetera.
Do you recall if Hunter Biden went on this trip?
He did.
And after the board of directors meeting, do you recall at any point going to dinner with any other individuals afterwards?
Yes, we had a board dinner.
Do you commonly have board dinners?
Yes.
And who would attend the board dinners?
Generally, everyone from or some smaller subset. It wasn't limited, but it would be, I don't know, like the particular table or restaurant. I know we stayed at the Burj Khalifa and the sail-looking structure in Dubai, so I think we had dinner there.
And after that dinner, did you and Hunter Biden go out for drinks?
We did not. We did not go out for drinks. I met him at the Four Seasons, the Four Seasons. He stayed at the Four Seasons.
And what happened at the Four Seasons?
We had coffee. I don't know if we had drinks, but we met at the Four Seasons.
Did Hunter Biden during that time ever get a call from Mykola Zlochevsky or Vadym Porzharskyi?
Vadym and they both joined us at the Four Seasons.
Why did they join you?
It was, basically, after all, that was normal course. Like, after all, we kind of spent the 3 days together.
During that, I'll say after dinner at the Four Seasons, did Mykola Zlochevsky or Vadym ask Hunter Biden to make any phone calls?
Yes, though I was not party to that phone call.
What was the request?
The request was, I think they were getting pressure, and they requested Hunter, help them with some of that pressure.
What pressure?
Government pressure on their, government pressure from Ukrainian government investigations into Mykola, etc. But it wasn't like not a specific request. It was just, we were sitting there at the Four Seasons having, coffee, and there was Mykola, there was one of the managers of the Four Seasons who managed that property, Vadym. So it wasn't like it wasn't like a specific meeting.
When you say pressure from the government, at this time were you aware Viktor Shokin was investigating Burisma?
To the best, I vaguely, whether it was Shokin, there was a lot of pressure initially. There was several pressure issues. It was kind of a theme of Burisma. There was capital tied up in London, 23 million pounds. There was, a US visa denied, and then a Mexico visa denied. And then so Shokin wasn't specifically on my radar as being an individual that was targeting him. But yes, there was constant pressure, and it was like whack-a-mole in regards to the pressures that had to resolve.
This is Jim Jordan says, the request from Mr. Mykola Zlochevsky and Vadym to Mr. Biden and or if you say it was to you, the request to help from whom to deal with what pressure?
The request, basically the request is like, can DC help? But there were not, I'm not going to, there weren't like specific, can the big guy help? It's always this amorphous, can we get help in DC?
Jordan again, the request was help from the United States government to deal with the pressure they was under from their prosecutor. And that entailed freezing of assets at the London Bank and other things that were going on in Ukraine.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Big says, I just think you may have just clarified. I want to make sure.
Sure.
When you say DC help, like they said, we could use some DC help. I'm not asking you what you think. I'm asking what you interpreted that to mean.
Well, I'm still learning about it. But it seems like really a lot like at the end of the day lobbying, soft lobbying help, firm lobbying help. There was a constant pressure on them. And there were various service providers hired and people working, helping DC. A lot of power is obviously flexed here. So that was a constant, whether it was putting out fires or helping expand.
So if you think they were asking Mr. Biden for DC help, if they had, I'm assuming what you're saying is they might have had some kind of lobbying group on retainer, perhaps.
Yes.
So why do you think they were asking Hunter Biden for DC help?
Why?
What did you take away from that?
Well, he was a lobbyist and an expert, and obviously he carried, a very powerful name. So I think that's what they were asking for. They also, there was a firm, Blue Star Strategies, that was hired to be, kind of the, I don't know if they were a lobbying firm or just strategic advisory. I'm still unclear what the difference is, but that was part of the mix. But it was a high pressure environment, and there was constant requests for help.
Back to Mandolfo, he says, what did Hunter Biden do after he was given that request?
Listen, I didn't hear this phone call, but he called his dad.
How do you know that?
Because I think Vadym told me, but again, it's unclear. I just know there was a call that happened there, and I was not privy to it.
How do you know that? I'm sorry, you said it. What did Vadym tell you about the call?
Just that we called DC, but he didn't. Again, it's not like there was not, oh, we've got all our problems solved kind of revelation. I was not on that side of the equation and kind of working on the lobbying side of the business.
When Vadym told you this, where were you?
Wait, just real quick. Is Vadym the manager of the Four Seasons? Is that?
No, Vadym he's one of the high-ranking officials at Burisma.
Oh, he's
basically,
okay.
Yes.
Gotcha,
yes.
okay, because they mentioned
Porzharskyi's his last name. That's the guy,
Gotcha.
Porzharskyi.
So
when Vadym told you this, where were you?
I was, basically then we drove back to the hotel I was staying at.
Who is we?
Me, Vadym, and Mikola.
Was during the drive back that Vadym told you that Hunter Biden had called the VP Biden at that time?
It would have been at some point thereafter, maybe the next day. Again, we spent, on a board trip where you travel with people from all over the world, we spent 3 days together. So the exact time I can't say, but that's what happened.
He told you expressly he called his father or DC?
DC.
We could keep going if you want. How far do you...
Keep going a little bit. The DC
Okay.
Joe Biden thing is different. We can go a couple pages. Go ahead.
When he told you this, did you confront Hunter Biden at any point?
No, I wouldn't have done that. Like, confront him? For what reason?
Well, if they being Burisma, are facing government pressure...
Uh-huh.
And Vadym comes, or Mikola comes, and to Hunter Biden and says, we're facing pressure, we need you to do something. And then Hunter Biden calls the vice president of the United States to do something. That could cause some sort of a serious alarm bells for influence peddling, conflicts of interest.
Right.
I mean, Hunter Biden at this point is supposedly acting as the corporate governance.
Right.
But he's calling his father about...
I think that's even more reason that I was left out of these, black box DC types of conversations. I was working on the ground to build the business.
What do you mean by that?
Like, it was not, I wasn't, the pressures the pressures were exerted. That was kind of a Blue Star, the resources of Rosemont, Seneca Advisors, or whatever the subsidiary and DC partners. That was like that world.
Are you aware that Vadym had told Blue Star that one of the pressures he was facing was related to Shokin and the investigation into Burisma?
So, yes, I was. The narrative that was spun to me, quite frankly, just to be, and I remember this because obviously it's the narrative that was spun to me, was that Shokin was under control and that whoever the next person that was brought in was, the fact that this is the narrative spun to me, that Shokin being fired was not good because he was like under control as relates to Mikola. I have no way to verify that, and that was spun to me from various folks in DC, not Hunter specifically, but that was what I was led to believe. Whether it's true or not, I cannot speculate.
With that said, though, are you aware that Vadym specifically told Blue Star Strategies that one of the issues he wanted resolved was resolving Victor Shokin's investigation into Burisma?
I don't recall Vadym saying that specifically. I don't, but again, I was spun a narrative that was quite the opposite of that.
But not from Hunter Biden or Vadym, correct?
Correct.
And not from Zlochevsky?
No, Zlochevsky spoke very little English.
In addition to this phone call that Hunter made, have you ever been privy to Hunter Biden calling his father around other potential business investors or foreign nationals who Hunter Biden or you may have been trying to work with?
Yes.
Can you please tell the committee about that?
Again, it's as far as specifics, we can talk about it, but Hunter spoke to his dad every day, right? And so in certain circumstances, when you're in, if his dad calls him at dinner and he picks up the phone, then there's a conversation. And the conversation is generally about the weather and, what it's like in Norway or Paris or wherever he may be. But that that happened.
Now, we can keep going if you want, but this is going to get away from that specific...
So it seems like did Hunter Biden ask Joe Biden explicitly to intervene on behalf of this government pressure? It feels like, according to Devin Archer, the answer is no. He asked DC to intervene.
It is clear that he knows that calling DC in his interpretation was calling Joe Biden. That had been how they had referenced that
and
before.
we could infer that. Like, maybe I'll grant you that. Now, I'll grant you this for the purpose of this argument, but outside of this conversation, I would never grant that because it doesn't seem like we have any proof of that whatsoever. I want to again reference. Wait. Hold on. I'm so sorry. I'll make it triggered. Sorry. Okay. According to Devin Archer, the answer is no, he has to see. Okay. Sorry. So, but let's say that I grant that. Let's say that there was some pressure or there was some shit going on. Would Hunter Biden calling Joe Biden and saying like, hey, I think there's some assets frozen or whatever. Like, I don't think this is right. I think something is wrong. Would him calling his dad to dig around into things or look into things to see like what's going on, is that necessarily a bad thing?
Yes, for two reasons. One, because this company, under the eyes of the United States and the Obama-Biden official policy, is that they are corrupt. And they have been complaining about prosecutors going easy on this company in the past, openly and vocally. And other institutions in the West, such as the EU and the UK and the IMF, have been doing the same. So the fact that we know that people in the State Department like George Kent were basically shitting bricks that Hunter Biden worked there anyways, they were like, shit, this looks so bad for us. So if Joe Biden is knowingly talking business with his son about this corrupt company, that in its own right is a clear conflict of interest that shouldn't happen.
Okay, wait. Okay, hold on. So that argument was wholly unconvincing unless you can show me, like, because it could be the case that Hunter Biden believes that nothing... Here, let's do this. Do you think that it's possible that Hunter believes that Burisma is doing nothing wrong?
No.
Okay, so Hunter knows that Burisma is up to no good right now.
Well, I would say that Hunter at least knows that he's illegally lobbying for Burisma.
Whoa, wait, hold on. We are not even close to that. I'm asking you, is it possible that Hunter Biden believes that Burisma, the company, is doing no wrong?
I suppose it could potentially be possible. It depends on what you mean by no wrong, though.
As in, like, that Burisma might be being investigated or whatever, but the company's not corrupt. They're not doing corrupt, horrible, evil things. That they're not really doing anything wrong. They're doing their best to make sure the company's, like, staying on the up and up.
I would say that is very improbable.
Okay.
He at least knew, as a baseline, he knew this. That the monies that they were sending to him, that he was basically covering, not properly filing taxes on, and not properly filing as a foreign lobbyist. So he knew that they were at least complicit in some sort of crimes.
Wait. Would Burisma, the company, know if he is filing with the U.S. State Department about receiving foreign payments?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I
so
don't
I'm
know
guessing
exactly.
the answer, my guess would be no, not at all.
I would think that... Okay, but fair enough then.
Okay,
let's say this for the sake of argument.
Sure.
I think it's
here's what I'm asking: is it possible that Joe Biden, Hunter Biden is like, okay, so they're sitting at dinner and they're talking the Burisma stuff, and all the Burisma guys are like, bro, we have so much pressure on us by the government. This is some bullshit. Like, they've got assets frozen in London. They shouldn't even be fucking frozen. Like, there's no reason for this. And Hunter, who's on the board of this company, is like, okay, let me make a call and see what's going on. So Hunter picks up the phone. Let's say he calls Joe Biden, okay, his dad, who would have been vice president at the time, correct?
Yes.
Right? So Hunter calls dad. It's like, hey, dad, what's up? I'm hanging out. I'm in Dubai. We're in the Mia Khalifa suite. Okay, everything's cool. We're chilling. I'm working, for Burisma, okay? And I'm working on behalf of this lobbying group, and we're, calling around. Our assets are frozen like crazy in London. We think it's bullshit. It's not right. Can you, look around and see, what's going on with this? Is there somebody that I can talk to? Is there a process that we can go through? Like, is it possible that he can make a call like that and there's not actually anything wrong?
I'll answer if you give me 20 seconds to expound.
Go for it.
Theoretically, it could be possible, but it would be irrelevant as to whether or not this would trigger an investigation into Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden was the point person in dealing with this corruption, and his office officially thought that Burisma was corrupt, it would be wholly inappropriate for Biden to be taking these calls. That's why Biden's defense is, we only talked about the weather. Because pretty much everyone would have to admit, if he's taking calls and willing to listen to Hunter Biden plead the case for Burisma, in its own right, that is corrupt.
Okay.
And furthermore, the second reason I was going to say is because we know that almost immediately following this phone call, Biden took official action himself in dealing with prosecutions in Ukraine by forcing the firing of this prosecutor. So the circumstantial evidence shows that there was a call that Zlochevsky said, I want you to call to deal with pressure from Ukrainian government investigations. Hunter Biden made that call. Days later, Joe Biden's on a plane, and according to his assistant, someone on his team, came up with the idea for himself to issue this quid pro quo, which then resulted in the firing of this...
Okay. All right. So on this particular point, did Hunter Biden explicitly ask Joe Biden to intervene? Just to be clear, we have no proof of this. We have Devin Archer's testimony, and I mean direct proof. We have Devin Archer's testimony, and Devin Archer directly contradicts this under oath, correct? This House.
Correct.
Under oath, Devin Archer says that no, he did not explicitly say he called Joe Biden. He said he called DC, right?
But it's clear that he has interpreted that based on conversations he's had with them before that DC meant calling Joe.
Okay,
that's what he says.
But it feels like he was explicitly asked if it was Joe Biden.
He says, did they say specifically they called Joe Biden? He said, no, they said they called DC. But he's saying previous to that he knows that means they called Joe Biden. And in his interview with...
Wait, hold on, because we read the transcripts. Can you... Can you show me exactly where you're inferring that, explicitly or implicitly?
Yes. 1 second. Let me find the page. Page 36. Okay. Question. What did Hunter Biden do after he was giving the request? Quote, listen, I didn't hear the phone call, but he called his dad. How do you know that? Because I think Vadym told me, but again, it's unclear. I just know there was a call that would happen and I was not privy to it. What did Vadym tell you about the call? Just that they called DC. We called DC. But he didn't, again, it's not like there was a we've got our problem solved kind of revelation. It was that our side of the equation. When Vadym told you this, where were you? I was basically in the drive back to the hotel. Who's we? Me, Vadym Mikola. During that drive back, Hunter Biden called the VP. It would have been some point thereafter, maybe the next day. Blah, blah, blah. He expressly told you he called his father or that he called DC. Archer says DC, DC. So it's clear prior to that he knows. When he said...
Wait, why is it clear prior to that? Because when he's asked explicitly, when Mr. Schwartz interviewed says explicitly, did he told you explicitly that he called his father or that he called DC? Mr. Archer says DC, DC, and I guess that could mean his dad, but this is what we're using to infer that he called Joe Biden here, correct?
That is correct. And for example, let's say that I was in some sort of business relationship with you. I don't know where you live. Let's just say Dallas, right? And I talk to people a lot and I'd say, call Dallas. And that meant call my boss Destiny, right? If you ask me specifically then, did you say Destiny or did you say call Dallas? And I said call Dallas. That would still be clear to me that I meant call Destiny. The fact that he's saying...
I don't need you to... I'm not retarded. I know what you're saying. I don't need you to walk me through it, but I understand. Okay, so this is what we're using to infer that he called Biden with requests for specific help for Shokin. Okay.
Right, and it is clear, and further evidence says he specifically says it was his dad. He knows that he called his dad when they said call DC. He knows that's what it was, and it's further evidence by the interview.
Wait. It doesn't seem because he's saying like he might have called him the next day, which makes it sound like it could have been a separate phone call. The testimony is
no. That's not what he's saying. He said he either told them in the ride back or the next day he was told. But the call happened that night.
Oh, okay. He was referring to the call there.
Right. When they're saying, when were you told this? He said, in the ride back to the hotel. Well, it could have been the next day that I was told. But he's saying the call happened. They're at this after dinner party. And let me just real quick. They're at this after dinner party at the Four Seasons. Zolchevsky says, call DC. We're under pressure from Ukrainian government investigations. And then they walk away. And Devin Archer's basically there by himself because he's not privy to these types of lobbying things, right? So he's just there, and then they come back. He gets in a limo with Porzharskyi and with Hunter, and he's told that this call happened.
Gotcha. Just curious, are there any like subpoenaed phone records around this time to verify any of this, or
that I don't know. I know that it certainly has not been FBI investigation into Joe Biden, and I don't believe that Hunter Biden has been interviewed. We have people from whistleblowers from the IRS that said that when they tried to connect financially to Joe Biden, they were expressly told they weren't allowed to try to connect to Joe Biden.
Okay, so here's a question.
I don't know if the House inquiry will subpoena. They should try to attempt to subpoena these calls. I don't know if that's occurred yet or not.
Gotcha. Okay, so then here's a question. With regards to Shokin, you're telling me that I shouldn't be able to find any evidence of the United States wanting Shokin out before this phone call happens, right? Because this would be the first time where Joe Biden is basically alerted to the fact that his son's business is in trouble, right?
No, so let me be clear on the timeline of this. There is, in the talking points, the memo that is printed out for Biden on November 22nd, there is a call to suggest the firing.
Wait, hold on. Let's be super clear. This Archer convo, or the testimony, Archer, when they were in Dubai, what is the date on this?
December 4th, 2015.
Okay, hold on. December 4th, 2015, you said? Right?
Correct.
Okay, so you're saying this is not the first time Hunter Biden would have asked Joe Biden to fire Shokin?
Correct.
Okay,
Right?
so when
if
was
we
this
go
brought
back
up
to-
beforehand? Yeah.
If we go back to the original timeline, November 2nd, 2015, Burisma advisor Porzharskyi, the same guy we're talking about here, Vadym, he emails Devon Archer and Hunter Biden and says that they want tangible results with the ultimate purpose of closing down any cases pursuits against
Okay, can you
Zolchevsky.
wait? Can you link me that email so we can read it?
I will try to find it, yes.
Okay.
This is such a shit site, I know. One pet peeve I have in doing the research for this stuff, oftentimes, like, I hate when the media people don't actually cite the document. They just...
Refer to it, yeah.
Yeah, like, I like to read the official thing myself. So I know I've read the email. Shit. 1 second. That's not the right one. So here's a Breitbart article. It's just the first thing that comes up on Brave. I will send it in. Where do you want it sent? I'll send it directly to our conversation we were having here in Discord. And it quotes directly from the email. I understand if you want to see the direct email. I'm trying to find it as well. But the relevant part I'll read here, and then we'll see that I could confirm if I dig further. If you go down, you'll see when it indents.
How do you
That's the
refer
email.
during the, just curious, in the testimony part, when Mr. Big says, when you say DC help, like they said, we could use some DC help, I'm not asking what you think I'm asking what you interpreted that to mean. Devon Archer replies, well, I'm still learning about it, but it seems like really a lot like at the end of the day lobbying, soft lobbying help, firm lobbying help. I mean, there was constant pressure on them, and there were various service providers hired and people working on, help in DC. A lot of powers obviously flexed here, so there was a constant, whether it was putting out fires or helping expand. Why would you not assume that that's what DC meant?
Well, because it's clear that that's not what Devon Archer thought.
But that was Archer's response. He says calling DC or DC help means lobbying, soft lobbying, firm lobbying help.
Right. And when he says specifically what happened afterwards, look, he called his dad. I wasn't privy of it. And they say, oh, they said call his dad. No, they said call DC. And he knew that meant. So pressuring DC, if they're right, he knew that was sort of lobbying efforts going. But when they told Hunter Biden specifically, call DC, he's interpreting that as call your father.
Okay.
So this email, the part of it that's relevant, which I'll read, and again, I'm trying to find the whole email, but you can see from the article I sent you, it says as following. This is again from this guy, Vadym, and it's Porzharskyi. And it's to Devon Archer and Hunter Biden. He says, quote, my only concern is focused to be on the same page, re our final goals. With this in mind, I would like to formulate a list of deliverables, including but not limited to a concrete course of actions, meetings, communications resulting in high-ranking U.S. officials in Ukraine, the U.S. ambassador, and in the U.S. publicly or private communication comment expressing their positive opinion and support of Nikola, that's Zolchevsky, Burisma, to the highest level of decision makers here in the Ukraine, i.e. the President of Ukraine, President Chief of Staff, the Prosecutor General, who would be Shokin, etc. The scope of the work should also include organization of a visit of widely recognized and influential current and or former U.S. policymakers to
Who
Ukraine.
is this? Who is Nikolai?
Zolchevsky.
Nikolai is his first name.
It's weird. His real name's Mikola, but it appears that they also use the name Nikolai. Right? It's just like a translation thing, but that's who he's referring to. Nikolai Zolchevsky and Burisma. The scope of the work should also include organization of a visit and widely recognized and influential current and or former U.S. policymakers to Ukraine in November, aiming to conduct meetings and bring positive signal message and support on Nikola's issues in the Ukraine to the Ukraine top officials above, with the ultimate purpose to close down for any cases pursuits against Zolchevsky or Nikola in Ukraine. So what this email is saying is, we want you to reach out to high-ranking officials in the United States, in public and private, to get their positive opinion of Burisma to people such as the President of Ukraine and the Prosecutor General, with the ultimate goal of closing down any cases or pursuits against Zolchevsky in Ukraine. Now, the defense has been repeatedly, there were no investigations into Burisma in Ukraine.
Wait, I don't care, hold on. I'm just trying to establish, I don't need the whole narrative. I'm just trying to establish it.
That's November 2nd. Then days later...
Wait. Just give me like 5 minutes. I'm just reading. Hold on.
Okay,
I'm reading these
no
emails.
problem.
Okay, why do we think that something is improper here? Or what is the allegation of something improper? Keep in mind, these are email chains that are CCing all relevant parties with full names and everything being sent on what would appear to just be open email lines, but go ahead.
Okay, because if you allow me to, I swear I'm not going to get too far in the weeds, but if you allow me to fast forward, this is what we know happened. Regardless of why, we know that Joe Biden forced the firing of Viktor Shokin, and that directly led to a positive result for Zolchevsky and Burisma. Because the new guy that came in, Lutsenko, ended up in a few short months closing the investigation into them with a slap on the wrist, which led to their assets being unfrozen and led to Zolchevsky coming back. We know that's the end of the story. We know that the action that Joe Biden did directly benefited.
Yeah, but the problem is I don't know if any of that was necessarily wrong, because that's what why I'm trying to get away from the narrative, because I've zapped my brain of all the narratives. I'm just trying to figure out, because it seems like on one end there's a chain of events that satisfies this narrative about the horrible, evil Bidens, but it feels like on another end there's just all of it is just kind of reasonable stuff. He's saying hey, we think that these investigations are bullshit. They're done. There hasn't been any progress on them. Can we get these closed down? They're not doing anything. I think even at the beginning of that, even at the beginning of that email, I noticed that it wasn't in I don't think it was in the, it wasn't in the Breitbart article, but in the full email, it says up here, I think.
Go ahead. I'll be interested. I've read it before, but I couldn't find the full email, so go ahead.
Okay, dear colleagues, this is from Vadym. Dear colleagues, hope you're well. Thank you for the docs provided. I've analyzed them most carefully and came up with the following observations. The first thing is that the suggested scope of work is largely lacking concrete, tangible results that we set out to achieve in the first place, mostly focusing on the process. Also, it doesn't offer any names of top U.S. officials here in Ukraine, for instance, the U.S. ambassador, or Ukrainian officials, the President of Ukraine, Chief of Staff, the Prosecutor General, as key targets for improving Nikola's case and his situation in Ukraine. If, however, this is done deliberately to be on the safe and cautious side, I can understand the rationale. And if all parties, in fact, understand the true purpose of the BS engagement, what is BS engagement? Blue Star or something?
Yes.
And all our joint efforts, it's okay and we should proceed immediately. My only concern is for us to be on the same page with respect to our final goals. With this in mind, I would like us to formulate a list of deliverables, including but not limited to a concrete course of action, including meetings and communications resulting in high-ranking U.S. officials in Ukraine and in U.S. publicly or in private communication / comment expressing their positive opinion in support of Nikola Burisma to the highest level decision makers here in Ukraine. Okay, wait, so is this an email to that lobbying firm?
No, this is an email to Devin Archer and to Hunter Biden. What's going on is...
Who is Eric D. Schwerin?
He is the other business partner.
Okay, gotcha.
Right? And that name's going to be...
Yeah, I gotcha. Is this with regards to what they're trying to do with the lobbying firm?
Right. So what's happening is Hunter and them approach them and say, you should hire this lobbying firm in order to further lobby people in the State Department and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And they put together a package. And what Vadym here is saying is like, but there's not a lot of tangibles in this package.
Okay.
Unless you're just being careful to not like put it in paper. But what we really want is tangible results that result in high-ranking U.S. officials, either publicly or privately, praising Burisma and Zlochevsky with the ultimate goal of shutting down investigations in Ukraine.
Okay. Is any of what you just is any what you just said, is any of that wrong?
What do you mean, is it wrong? Yes, it would be wrong for the following thing. So first,
can I? Okay, hold on. You're saying shutting down investigations. I don't see that language here. Right. It sounds to me like what this is talking about.
That's the last line, right? It says, with the ultimate goal of shutting down cases, investigation. Isn't that what it says? Let me look again. I believe that's the last line.
And support Nikola's issue to the Ukrainian top officials above with the ultimate purpose to close down for any cases or pursuits against Nikola in Ukraine. Yeah. It sounds like what they're talking about is that it sounds like, so they've hired a PR firm is what it sounds like, right? And it sounds like they want, so scope of work refers to I'm paying you and then here are the deliverables that I want for a particular job, right? And it sounds like the scope of work that they had originally laid out for their contract didn't have any concrete deliverables like we will get XYZ politicians to speak on this issue. So they're having a conversation saying like, listen, if we're going to hire this lobbying firm, we're going to pay the money to like improve our public standing and to get people to talk about it. I want there to be actual like deliverables in like in the scope of work in the SOW, right? And part of this, if we're going to pay these guys, is I want there to be Ukrainian officials, U.S. people to say good things about us to improve our standings because we're fighting this case in Ukraine. It feels to me like if you're paying a lobbying firm to do something that none of this seems unreasonable.
Well, no, but it would seem unreasonable if someone then in the United States took an action that went directly in line with this.
No, wait, hold on.
You have to let me explain at some point.
I understand. No, I understand, but what you're doing when your explanation is you're baking in a whole bunch of narratives, because here is a possibility. It could be the case, here's one potential world, okay? You must admit this is true. It could be the case that every single person in this email chain and the company are all acting properly, but Hunter Biden alone is acting improperly. So they might all be doing this, they hire the firm, and Hunter Biden is calling his dad, and he's like, hey, Dad, listen, there's going to be a lobbying firm that comes through. I need you to pull the trigger on this and this and this and this because this Shogun guy is fucking us. But everybody else here could be completely on the up and up, right? Can you admit that or no?
Why? Well, it could be, but I don't understand how that changes the calculation whatsoever.
Because how it changes is because when I read these emails, there's like 7 paths forward, 2 of which are very obvious, and 1 in which is very convoluted and not obvious, and that's the one that you want to gun down, but you're gunning it down on circumstantial evidence that could support like a million other things. Like, when I read this full email, nothing here jumps out to me as being wrong. I would need a whole bunch more. Now, you've given me the context, but I'm just saying, do you agree that if you read these emails on their face, nothing here seems wrong? Looks like he's hiring a lobbying firm to try to convince people in the U.S. and Ukraine that he's like doesn't have bad standing, that he should beat his case in Ukraine. Right?
I think there's a disconnect in the subject of what we're focusing on when we look at this. You're looking at it through the lens of, is it illegal for Burisma to ask a lobby firm to do this? Is it illegal for Blue Star Strategies to work on behalf of their client to do? That's not the subject that I'm looking at. The subject I'm looking at is, what this says is, we want you to reach out to prominent officials in the United States with the goal of having them reach out to officials in the Ukraine, such as the president and the prosecutor general, to shut down cases in Ukraine against us.
Yeah, but the scope of work...
Let me finish real quick, and then that's exactly what Joe Biden does.
The scope of work should also include organization of a visit of a number of widely recognized and influential current and or former U.S. policymakers to Ukraine in November, aiming to conduct meetings with and bring positive signal/message and support on Nikola's issue to the Ukrainian top officials above, with the ultimate purpose to close down for any cases/pursuits against Nikolai in Ukraine. So you're reading this as they are trying to illegally close down an investigation that is going on that is super legitimate. But could this just be like they think they're in the right and they're trying to lobby hard for politicians to like look at their issue and change, their perspective on it? That is what lobbyists do, right?
You have to let me expound upon this. Yes, That could be, though I find it unplausible, but it would be irrelevant to the subject of did Joe Biden act properly? Because let's say that they truly believe that. Let's say that Blue
And remember,
Star
this was
Strategies-
what you're about to say. I think this was one of the things that I gave is that like maybe all of these people who are acting well, but Hunter Biden is making secret phone calls and acting improper, right? That could be a thing, right?
Well, no, I don't think. Let me.
Go ahead. Yeah.
God, I hate to even get in these weeds, but I don't even think from the perspective of Burisma, they wouldn't think it was wrong. Let's say that we assume you're correct and that Burisma and Blue Star Strategies and hell, even Hunter Biden thinks that all of this is a big misunderstanding. They didn't do anything. Then Burisma could legitimately be saying, seriously, we want you to call your father. We didn't do anything wrong. If I didn't do anything wrong and I was friends with the vice president's son, I'd probably be like, hey, dude, could you call your dad and get this shit dealt with? I didn't do anything. The wrongdoing isn't them. In this case, the wrongdoing would be Joe Biden taking part of that conversation and then potentially agreeing, yeah, I don't think Burisma is doing anything wrong, so we'll get this prosecutor fired. Because it is the official stance of the U.S. State Department, of the Obama-Biden administration, of the Western world, that Burisma and Zlochevsky are corrupt. So if Joe Biden is listening to his son, who earnestly believes, Dad, trust me, they're not corrupt, and Biden says, I agree with you, let's get this prosecutor fired, that is still corruption on the part of Joe Biden.
Even if Joe Biden and the rest of the world legitimately think the prosecutor is corrupt?
Well, if the reason that Joe Biden wants him fired, even if that prosecutor is legitimately corrupt, is because he's listening to his son saying, but trust me, Dad, these cases against Burisma are wrong, that would still be corrupt.
Wait.
Yes.
What if it's not that they're wrong? What if he's saying like, hey, Dad, like you should look into this stuff, or you should ask people to check this out, or this is bullshit. And he's not even really, this is happening through a lobbying firm. Well, actually, wait, here's a question. If it's just Hunter asking his dad, why are they wasting all this money on the lobbying firm?
Because they're going to do it in multiple... I see you're talking to Pisco. Because they're going to do it...
Whoa. Hold on. I haven't read a single thing. I'm ignoring everything Pisco's saying because all Pisco's...
Well, it's an argument he made as well.
Yeah, I have no idea what... I haven't even had an in the weeds debate with Pisco on this. He literally asked earlier today, and I said after I talked to Rob. So I haven't gotten any of Pisco's talking about this. So, yeah, so then my question is, if Hunter Biden is just making phone calls to Biden, why even do any of this lobbying firm bullshit?
Because... two reasons. One, you're going to approach it in many ways as possible. They clearly hired Hunter Biden, even if you don't think that Joe was involved in anything, with the idea that his name would help protect them. They hired them in May of 2014. They're not seeing tangible results. Not only are they not seeing tangible results, that they feel that there's still pressure, that they're still being called corrupt in the West, but they still, according to these emails, think there are cases in Ukraine. And according to what Devin Archer said, Zlochevsky said, there's pressure from Ukrainian government investigations. So it is clear that Hunter Biden alone isn't solving this problem, so you're going to approach it in multiple ways. Secondly,
so Hunter Biden's corruption of having a direct line to his dad wasn't good enough, but it was the lobbying firm that eventually pushed them over?
No, what I'm saying, let me get to the second point. What I'm saying on this point is you would go through as many avenues as possible in order to clear your name. And so that's one. Number two, because they're not even sure that VP Biden could necessarily deliver on his own. They wouldn't be positive. So the number two reason is because you're going to want to sort of have the people that you're lobbying to in the State Department also have plausible deniability, right, when this comes out. You don't want it to just be, we're just talking to Hunter Biden makes this decision himself. You're going to want people like George Kent to be talked to, people like Ambassador Pyatt to be talked to, people elsewhere in the Obama-Biden State Department, and you're going to want to be hammering out details of how this is going the whole way through. For example, the pressure from Blue Star Strategies in getting connections to the State Department increased after Shokin was fired. And the reason is because they were trying to get contacts with who the new prosecutor was going to be. And they're reaching out to the State Department and going, oh yeah, that business with Shokin, it was kind of strange, whatever. But we assure you we're not corrupt. So it's not just that this lobbying effort is just to get Shokin fired. The lobbying effort is to have a full court press to get cases shut down against Burisma and simultaneously to improve their image. So there's no reason if they had Hunter Biden, they'd say, that's good enough for us. We assume he'll eventually come through.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So that's wholly unconvincing me, but go ahead.
Can I make a question of you real quick?
Go for it.
Right? given that you've already said that, like, okay, there is a possible interpretation that you're right that this could be corrupt, but there's also interpretations that it couldn't. Do you think this at least meets the benchmark for there should have been an investigation?
Honest to God, you're asking me a moral question about like a legal standard. I don't know what the legal threshold needs to be, what has to be met to trigger a legal investigation. I have no idea. I'm not sure.
Well, I think this is clearly it's something that should have been investigated by the FBI. I mean, there's things we haven't talked about. The FBI also, for example, you could believe this or not, but this was something that was told to them by a trusted confidential human source, that Zlochevsky told this confidential human source that he paid $5 million to Joe Biden himself to fire Shokin.
Wait. Where is the link to that statement?
It's the FBI 1023.
Wait. Can you link me that? Because that's a pretty big claim. You're saying that the head of Burisma paid Hunter Biden $5 million to fire
Joe Biden, Joe and Hunter.
Oh, paid Joe and Hunter. Okay.
Yes. Let me see. I don't know how you find these things faster than me.
I mean, chat's usually just linking when I just click.
You actually have people that watch you. That helps.
Wow.
Let me see. Here, I'll send you. I think I found it. Bookmark this. Grassley obtains and releases FBI record alleging VP Biden foreign bribery scheme. Grassley today released... Oh, shit. Here it is. I'm sorry, it's linked on there. Oh, shit. Downloading file. Come on, Grassley. There it is.
Okay, hold up.
I'll send you that actual link from Grassley if you want to. But it's on that page I sent you.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah, now what am I looking for?
Okay, I'll just start reading through it.
Wait. Tell me what to control F so I can like be on the same page as you.
I don't remember specifically what it says, but it'll be something about $5 million. Also, this is a PDF, so I don't know if it's searchable because it's just like a photo.
It is.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me find this. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm not seeing 5 million. Control F million. Burisma would pay 20 to 30 million. It cost 5 million. Okay, hold on. Okay, I see it. Okay. CHS.
Where's it at?
What is CHS?
Confidential human source.
Okay, so AO. Okay, wait. So this is an unmasked individual that we don't know about?
We don't know this person's name, but this is someone that's an informant for the FBI. Okay, and we've been told this is someone that they had trusted in the past.
Okay, so this
person, we don't know the name.
Asked Zlochevsky why Burisma would pay $20 to $30 million to buy a U.S. company for IPO purposes when it would be cheaper to just form a new U.S. entity or purchase a corporate shell that was already listed on an exchange. Zlochevsky responded that Hunter Biden advised Burisma it could raise much more capital if Burisma purchased a larger U.S.-based business that already had a history in the U.S. oil and gas sector. CHS recalled Zlochevsky mentioned some U.S.-based gas businesses in Texas, the names of which CHS did not recall. CHS advised Zlochevsky it would be problematic to raise capital in the U.S. given Shokin's investigation into Burisma, as nobody in the U.S. would invest in a company that was subject to criminal investigation. CHS suggested it would be best if Burisma simply litigate the matter in Ukraine and pay some attorney $50,000. Zlochevsky said he/Burisma would likely lose the trial because he could not show that Burisma was innocent. Zlochevsky also laughed at CHS's number of $50,000, not because of the small amount, but because the number contained a 5, and said that it cost $5 million to pay one Biden and $5 million to pay another. CHS noted that at the time, it was unclear to CHS whether these alleged payments were already made. CHS told Zlochevsky that any such payments to the Bidens would complicate matters, and Burisma should hire some normal U.S. oil and gas advisors because the Bidens have no experience with that business sector. Zlochevsky made some comment that although Hunter Biden was stupid and his dog was smarter, Zlochevsky needed to keep Hunter Biden on the board so everything will be okay. CHS inquired whether Hunter Biden or Joe Biden told Zlochevsky he should retain Hunter Biden. Zlochevsky replied they both did. CHS opinion making a mistake. He should fire Hunter Biden and deal with the Shokin's investigation directly so that the matter will remain an issue in Ukraine and not turn to some international matters. Zlochevsky responded something to the effect of, don't worry, this thing will go away anyway. Are
you... So I got... Let me read. I'll read the parts that I think are relevant, if you don't mind. CHS inquired whether Biden or Hunter or Joe told Zlochevsky he should retain Biden. Zlochevsky replied they both did. CHS reiterated CHS's opinion that Zlochevsky is making a mistake. He should fire Hunter and deal with Shokin's investigation directly.
I already read this. Yeah, I got it.
And then at the end, he says, Zlochevsky responded that he appreciated CHS's advice, but it's too late to change his decision. CHS understood this mean Zlochevsky had already paid the Bidens, presumably to deal with Shokin. But then further down, I'm going to read just a little further. 2016-17 phone call. Shortly after the 2016 election and during President Trump's transition, CHS participated in a conference with Ostapenko and Zlochevsky. CHS inquired whether Zlochevsky was happy with the U.S. election results. Zlochevsky replied he was not happy that Trump won the election. CHS asked Zlochevsky whether he was concerned about Burisma's involvement with the Bidens. Zlochevsky stated he didn't want to pay the Bidens and he was, quote, pushed to pay them. CHS explained that Russian term Zlochevsky used to explain the payments was "poluchi," translated by the CHS, which literally translates to got it or received it, but it also used in Russian criminal slang for being forced or coerced to pay. Zlochevsky stated Shokin had already been fired and no investigation currently was going on, and that nobody would find out about his financial dealing with the Bidens. This is in 2016 and 17. He was right as well. The investigation was buried into him. So basically,
what is it? Wait, I don't need the narrative. Okay. So what is this particular form?
This is a 1023. So this is the documents, FD 1023s, that the FBI will take when they're taking reports from their confidential sources. So it's the official report they read.
Where did this come from?
This was obtained through, I don't know if subpoena is the word. It was requested by Grassley, and it came from the FBI. So it's a CHS reporting document from the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Okay, is there any other person anywhere else on the record that is affirming that any payments were made like this to the Bidens?
Well, I don't know, not to my knowledge.
Well, I'm saying on the record, so I'm saying like publicly or otherwise. Do we have any? Because yeah, I'm just curious.
Not to my knowledge. Now, let me be clear. Let me steelman the opposite position.
Well, you've already done it like a million times. I know the narrative. Go ahead.
Well, listen, one of the defenses is, but how do we know Zlochevsky's telling the truth? He's a bullshitter, right?
I don't even know that. Right now, what I have is I've got a confidential informant who apparently said something to the FBI, who's not under oath and is relaying like stories of... Is this his conversation with Zlochevsky, or is he relaying somebody else's conversation with Zlochevsky?
This is his conversation with Zlochevsky.
Okay. So
now,
really,
I just want to be...
But
so
okay.
let me be clear. Mm-hmm. Now, look at the difference between this and then what a source told the FBI that resulted in the FBI's FISA warrants in Trump.
Well, I'm not even looking at FISA.
I understand, but listen, I get that.
Wait, do we even know? Do we know for a fact that the FBI hasn't investigated Hunter Biden? Do we know that?
Well, we have whistleblowers saying from the IRS that they were specifically told when looking into the financial crimes that they couldn't, right? And we know that there's no...
Wait. People, what do you mean told they couldn't look into crimes? Like they had probable cause, they were getting warrants, and then the DOJ shut them down? Or what do you mean by that?
Yes. Shipley and Ziegler...
Wait, can you link me that? I want to see that.
Okay. Let me see if I can
And just
find
to be clear
this.
on this document, so because I've got... I think testimony under oath is my gold standard, and then my second standard is going to be at least like I've got people making claims, but a confidential informant or a CHS is making statements about things that somebody else said about. This is like an anonymous person doing hearsay. So we're at like levels of evidence that are like below the surface of hell right now. But I mean, like, it's not nothing. I'm not going to say it's like nothing, but like it's like I'm getting hearsay from an anonymous source. That's like a unbelievable statement to believe. It's like, oh my gosh, but that's okay. But go ahead.
But listen, we can't look at it in a vacuum. We should look at how the FBI at the time was handling other investigations. They literally unlawfully obtained FISA warrants based on a suspected Russian spy that was a source saying Trump had P tapes and he did illegal stuff, which was bullshit, which was disinformation that they were working with Hillary Clinton.
I don't know why. I don't care about any of the. I don't care about the Trump stuff.
Listen. Let me finish. They even continued to get those warrants after they talked to this source, and the source basically told them, oh, that was just all bullshit. I can't believe you're using it. So their standard with that source that they interviewed was they were never able to verify the claims, and even when they talked to the person and he basically retracted it, they still used it. So to then say this actual confidential human source that we're being told as a CHS is someone the FBI has used and trusted before, that is giving them information to not then open an investigation as they did with the Donald Trump stuff, seems to be a clear disparity.
Okay, that might be true, but I don't care.
And I think you're downplaying sort of what a CHS is. A CHS isn't just like someone randomly that called in and phoned a tip. A CHS is someone that is on the books for the FBI that most of the time they're paying, that you can't even out them in Freedom of Information Act requests because they're considered instrumental to the FBI's intelligence operations.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is I have a confidential human source that's reporting something that somebody else said, and I can't put that. I can't. There's no cross-examination of that statement. The guy's not even under oath. I don't know anything about what he's saying, right? Because the Burisma guy could literally just be like talking shit. I have no idea, right? Like what is Zlochevsky said public? What has Zlochevsky said publicly about this?
Zlochevsky publicly said, "I didn't pay the Bidens."
Okay, and then is there
admit it?
Well, and then is there any record? Is there any corroboration? Is there anything under oath? Is there anything investigatory? Is there anything non-circumstantial that shows that he did pay the Bidens?
Well, what we have is a bunch of shell companies that are set up that, again, IRS whistleblowers were attempting to investigate, and they were basically told that they couldn't talk to certain family members of Hunter Biden, including Joe Biden.
Okay, hold on, wait. What you just said there, that makes sense to me. IRS people probably can't do rogue investigations. That makes sense, right?
Who would you expect to be doing the financial investigations of money trails?
I don't know the full structure of this, but my guess would be this would be an investigation that would probably start at like the DOJ or like the FBI or somebody would be investigating this. It wouldn't be just the IRS. Is this a tax issue IRS, right now, or
the IRS? What? So two things. One, then you would admit had the FBI not done this, that would be negligent on their part, correct?
I don't know if the FBI has done this. I don't even know the answer to that.
Okay, let's say that's fine, right? But if we do find out the answer that up till this point they hadn't, you would admit that would be negligent.
I don't have access to the collection of intelligence that the FBI has. Like, Bush saw convincing documents from intelligence that showed that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, but it was unvetted intelligence. I don't know what intelligence the FBI is holding on to that might show them one way or another that he does or does. It could be the fact that this plus other stuff means they absolutely should investigate. They could have reason to believe why this is bullshit. For all I know, the FBI might have CHS people reporting that Zlochevsky says that he's got a 15-inch dick. I don't know. That might be the case, and nothing is believed that he says to certain people. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm being honest.
Well, I guess if they had that, then they should get their tape measure out and check. The point is that it's quite obvious, right, that this is something that is an accusation more than the accusations that connected Trump and Trump-Russia collusion.
Why are we talking about Trump? Remember, I mind-wiped myself. I'm just looking here to see. And listen, at the end of this whole talk, it could be the fact that you could go, listen, Stephen, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have any good evidence of Biden doing anything, but I think there should be an investigation. And if that's your position, that's fine. But I feel like when we talk about this, it feels like your position is basically Hunter and Joe, it's a foregone conclusion that there was corruption. We just need to formalize it with a conviction now. But it sounds like now as I dig into this, and I'm just asking, my mind is wiped and I don't know, and I'm not trying to draw anything external, but it sounds like what we're saying now is, okay, there's no direct evidence of anything. There's a lot of circumstantial stuff, and we've got some hearsay from an anonymous source that is directly contradicted under oath testimony. But I think there should be an investigation maybe on that. That's a way different. The strength of that claim is way different. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I got two things to say. Where was this CHS claim directly contradicted?
Well, the idea that Devin Archer seemed to explicitly say that there wasn't like a request for a call to Joe Biden, that calling DC was working with firms and stuff. And it seems we got an email to a lobbying firm about this. And that it doesn't seem like there's any evidence. I haven't seen any evidence like under oath or anything that there is a direct link or payment or anything to the Bidens or anything.
But that's a different claim, right? Like, I disagree with your interpretation. We've already talked about the call DC thing, but even if I would grant your interpretation, that's not dispositive of this confidential human source. Devin Archer basically admits, he's like, they didn't keep me in the loop with that kind of shit.
Okay.
So what you said that there was direct under oath testimony that contradicts that, that's not true. Devin Archer saying I'm not aware of a payment.
Or sorry, not the payment. The direct note I feel like it contradicts your claim that there was an explicit call to Joe Biden made for help. It seemed pretty clear that they were explicitly calling DC for, like, to talk to lobbying firms in DC.
I disagree. It is clear that Devin Archer thought that he meant Joe Biden. And again, that's separate from this confidential human source. So nothing this CHS. And what I'm saying, if I could go back, if you remember to the beginning of this, and pretty much in any conversation I've had with you or anyone else about this, unlike many people that are like, lock her up or lock Trump up or lock Biden up, that's not my concern. My concern is there a two-tier system at places like the FBI? Are they approaching people that they don't like harsher and protecting people that they do like?
Gotcha. Okay,
and
that's
so when
I understand
I'm
that.
saying,
But I'm not here. I don't care about the FBI. I care about Hunter Biden
15 seconds more on this, then I promise I'll move. So when I'm talking about, look how they treated confidential sources when it came to trusting them to get FISA warrants to spy on Biden, and then when we have CHSs saying this stuff that is direct connections, unlike the disinformation they were looking at when it came to investigating Trump, all of a sudden it's, well, they couldn't be bothered.
Okay.
It's no big deal. I think it's ridiculous, right? And it's certainly worth an impeachment inquiry. Now, to answer your question about the money, the IRS is certainly, even if the FBI was looking as well, there is no reason that the IRS should have been told by DOJ or anyone else that they couldn't reach out and look for these crimes. Even if the FBI is looking for crimes connecting, theoretically, they have this invisible investigation into Joe Biden that we're not aware of, right? There's no reason
Well, hold on,
wait,
hold on. Two things. One, I'm pretty sure Republicans lost their fucking shit when the IRS was conducting what they believe were politically motivated investigations under Obama. So I don't know why we would think it would be the IRS's job to investigate this, number one. And number two, when you say invisible investigations, aren't all federal investigations invisible except for in extraordinary matters? The FBI doesn't usually publicly comment on investigations, right? So that's ordinary behavior, right?
Well, it depends.
No, it doesn't. The ordinary behavior does not depend. Or there might be an extraordinary circumstance. So, for instance, Comey announcing Clinton's investigation, but ordinarily the FBI won't comment or state that there's an ongoing investigation, right?
How did we know there was an investigation in Crossfire Hurricane then?
I don't know. How do we figure that out? What happened?
And the FBI admitted it. We knew that investigation.
Why did the FBI make that admission?
I don't know.
Well, let's look it up. Let's look it up.
I think the first reporting of it was a Mother Jones article briefly before the election that came from Harry Reid. But then I believe the official reporting.
Wait, what was the name of this? I'm sorry.
I believe it was a Mother Jones article.
No. What was the name of this Operation FBI thing? What was it called?
Crossfire Hurricane.
Crossfire Hurricane. Okay. Oh, wait. Are you telling me right now? So then it was a leak. It wasn't the FBI making an announcement, was it?
Well, but the leak came from Harry Reid, so Congress people would have been aware. And there's no Congress person that said, yeah, there's an investigation into Joe Biden. There's not. You know it and I know it. They haven't investigated Joe Biden. They haven't.
Well, wait. I don't know why you don't like to when you don't like to address like a certain point and you just want to jump ahead and tell a story. It makes me feel like you're knowingly lying. Like you're not just incorrect or we're disagreeing. It takes me. Okay, so what? So right now, the very clear question that's before us is it ordinary for the FBI to announce investigations? My claim was no. It's not ordinary. They don't ordinarily do that. And you go, well, it just kind of depends whenever. And then you brought up this Operation Crossfire Hurricane. So I'm curious, did the FBI just publicly announce this or did they do it for a really good reason? Or was it a leak? Because those are three very different things. So
I don't know. I think the first we heard of it may have been from a leak. There was a public announcing of Crossfire Hurricane. There have been high-profile cases where there have been public announcings that there were investigations. And I will say this. I am 99% certain that there has not been an investigation anywhere commiserate to what there should have been, such as interviewing Joe Biden, investigating Joe Biden's bank records and things like that. If I'm incorrect about that and the FBI is able to show proof that they did meticulously have some sort of investigation into the bank accounts of Joe Biden and that's why they were telling people in the IRS not to do it, I'll eat crow on that. I'm wondering if they didn't do that, though, if we find out that that didn't occur, will you admit that that was negligent?
That what was negligent? That they...
If they hadn't been looking into the bank records.
I don't know. I don't know what information they have in front of them.
So let's go with what we
hold
do
on.
now.
Yeah. I'm sorry because I'm just reading this Crossfire Hurricane thing you brought up. So all of this was subsumed by the Mueller investigation, correct?
You mean they took it over? Is
yes.
What you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't seem like the FBI just announced this. So that wasn't. So this is another standard operating procedure for the FBI. Is they don't announce these investigations. Also, I just see in here. I'm just reading. There's just the Wikipedia. You made it sound like all of the FISA warrants on Trump were bullshit. This is saying 2 of the 4 FISA warrants were declared invalid. So there were
Durham
some
report. The Durham report says that the entire process was unlawful.
Why didn't it recommend any charges if the law was being broken?
Unlawful is different than criminal. It means they went outside the scope. So, for example, if the FBI spies on you and they weren't supposed to, who do you arrest?
If the FBI spies on you and they weren't supposed to, isn't that illegal?
Yeah, but who do you arrest?
Probably the person that authorized the wiretaps.
You probably sue them, but no one goes to jail.
Is it? Hold on. Wouldn't it be a violation of one party, two parties' consents? Aren't you breaking state laws here, if not federal laws?
I don't know.
Well,
I know
hold on.
this.
Wait. That's a pretty important claim, isn't it? If somebody is illegally wiretapping your phone, my understanding is at the very least, I believe that's a class 3 felony in a lot of states, is it not?
Okay.
Yeah.
Then let me tell you why. Let me tell you why your argument's irrelevant, right? Didn't you admit that the Wikipedia article says 2 were wrong?
Correct. Yeah.
Why weren't charges brought?
Well, my understanding is there was one person that was charged and convicted for falsifying a statement.
Correct.
Yep.
But that's not the only reason that they were deemed unlawful.
Sure, but Durham, after the Durham report, it's not like Durham said that the FBI, my understanding was, and this is another article, and this is a while ago for the Durham report, my understanding was the conclusion of the Durham report was that it seemed like during politically charged investigations, people got a little bit eager, and that probably wasn't good. But he didn't say that like the FBI as a whole fucked up, or we need to change processes, or anything illegal or super bad happened. That seemed to be my general takeaway from the Durham report. Am I right or wrong about that?
You're wrong, right? Durham actually concludes at one point he's not even recommending incremental changes because unless the culture at the FBI changes, recommending incremental policy changes would be irrelevant. The IG report prior to the Durham report also recommended many changes to the FISA process.
Wait, hold on, wait. Why did we jump to that? Let's just focus on the Durham thing, one thing at a time.
Okay.
So if I look up like Durham report, he's going to say, at the end, he's going to say, I don't recommend any change because it'd be a waste of time because they're so compromised. Is that what you're saying he would say?
I think he said that, yes, that he wasn't doing specific changes because the culture was such at the FBI that it needed to change.
Hold on. I'm looking at, it's a 316-page thing. Let's real quick. Okay. I scroll down right to the bottom. I get possible FBI reform. One possible way to provide additional scrutiny of politically sensitive investigations would be to identify in advance an official who is responsible for challenging the steps taken in the investigation. Stuart Baker proposes having a career position for a nonpartisan FBI agent or lawyer to challenge the FISA application in every other stage of the investigation. This would be done in investigations that pose partisan risk. In Baker's view, the Attorney General, through the Supplemental Reforms Memorandum, has already taken a good step in this direction by requiring that politically sensitive surveillance and search applications be reviewed by a special agent from a field office not involved in the investigation. Similarly, Adam Klein said that the DOJ and FBI leaders should consider whether a regularized practice of internal red teaming in the most sensitive cases, whether within the FBI or in collaboration with attorneys at the National Security Division, could serve as an effective check on confirmation bias without unduly delaying time-sensitive applications. One more quick paragraph. As a way to ensure full consideration of the issues and applications that may present very difficult and vitally important issues, we recommend that the department seriously consider Baker's proposal for an official to challenge both a politically sensitive FISA application and other stages of the investigations. Nothing, former Attorney General Levi warned, can more weaken the quality of life or more imperil the realization of the goals we all hold dear than our failure to make clear by words and deed that our law is not the instrument of partisan purpose. That feels like a far different characterization than what you gave me, where he's saying that oh, it's such a waste of time. We're not even gonna recommend anything. It sounds like he's got a lot of faith and confidence in the FBI here. He's literally said they're already taking good steps to remedy these issues. No.
Oops. So I've read through this report, not the whole thing, right?
Okay.
I'll tell you, the article I had saved for it, right, where I'd read about him talking about the cultural rot at the FBI. It
Control
says
F culture. Let me see if I can find anything about this.
so I don't know if he uses the exact word cultural rot or if it's something that I read in a media report describing the things that he was saying. From the Wall Street Journal, the report's 316 pages detail the FBI's failings at every turn. Mr. Durham describes how the Bureau initiated its probe based on a conversation between unpaid Trump advisor Papadopoulos and an Australian diplomat. No U.S. law enforcement or intelligence agency thought the conversation was evidence of collusion, but the FBI launched a formal investigation anyway without any significant review of its own intelligence databases or conducting interviews of witnesses essential to understand the raw information it received. The FBI also opened full investigation. Oh, where the fuck? I'm sorry. The special counsel takes the conclusion a step further, writing, quote, the FBI failed to uphold their important mission of strict fidelity to the law, thus describing a cultural rot, not merely the work of a few apples.
Okay, wait. Let me. Can I read this real quick? Because this is good for both of us. Okay. So I'm controlling what you're saying. So I'm getting this part. It says conclusion, but it's page 27 out of 316. So I don't know. But I control F. Based on the review of the Crossfire Hurricane and related intelligence activities, we conclude that the department and the FBI failed to uphold their important mission of strict fidelity to the law in connection with certain events and activities described in this report. As noted, former FBI attorney Kevin Kleinsmith committed a criminal offense by fabricating language in an email that was material to the FBI obtaining a FISA surveillance order. In other instances, FBI personnel working on the same FISA application displayed, at best, a cavalier attitude towards accuracy and completeness. FBI personnel also repeatedly disregarded important requirements when they continued to seek renewals of that FISA surveillance while acknowledging, both then and in hindsight, that they did not genuinely believe there was probable cause to believe that the target was knowingly engaged in clandestine intelligence activities on behalf of a foreign power or knowingly helping another person in such activities. And certain personnel disregarded significant exculpatory information that should have prompted investigative restraint and re-examination. Our investigation also reveals that senior FBI personnel displayed a serious lack of analytical rigor towards the information that they received, especially information received from politically affiliated persons and entities. This information, in part, triggered and sustained Crossfire Hurricane and contributed to the subsequent need for Special Counsel Mueller's investigation. In particular, there was significant reliance on investigative leads provided or funded, directly or indirectly, by Trump's political opponents. The department did not adequately examine or question these materials and the motivations of those providing them, even when, at about the same time, the director of the FBI and others learned of significant and potentially contrary intelligence. Two more quick paragraphs. In light of the foregoing, there is a continual need for the FBI and the department to recognize that lack of analytical rigor, apparent confirmation bias, and an overwillingness to rely on information from individuals connected to political opponents caused investigators to fail to adequately consider alternative hypotheses and to act without appropriate objectivity or restraint in pursuing allegations of collusion or conspiracy between a U.S. political campaign and a foreign power. Although recognizing that in hindsight is much clearer, much of this also seems to have been clear at the time. We therefore believe it is important to examine past conduct to identify shortcomings and to improve how the government carries out its most sensitive functions. Section 5 discusses some of these issues more fully. This report does not recommend any wholesale changes in the guidelines and policies that the department and the FBI now have in place to ensure proper conduct and accountability in how counterintelligence activities are carried out. Rather, it is intended to accurately describe the matters that fell under our review and to assist the Attorney General in determining how the department and the FBI can do a better, more credible job in fulfilling its responsibilities and in analyzing and responding to politically charged allegations in the future. Ultimately, of course, meeting those responsibilities comes down to the integrity of the people who take an oath to follow the guidelines as such. The answer is not the creation of new rules, but a renewed fidelity to the old. The promulgation of additional rules and regulations to be learned, and yet more training sessions will likely prove to be a fruitless exercise of the FBI's guiding principles of fidelity, bravery, and integrity are not ingrained in the hearts and minds of this one. Okay, gotcha. All right.
So it
sounds
said
like
what I said. Yeah, I was correct.
Reread what you said again. Let me reread.
I basically said he was saying the problem is the culture there. He wasn't even recommending new rules. He said the problem is the culture there. Is what I said. And that's what he says there. As such, the answer is not the creation of new rules, but a renewed fidelity to the old. The promulgation of additional rules and regulations to be learned in yet more training session would likely prove to be fruitless if the FBI's guiding principles of fidelity, bravery, and integrity... Let me finish this point real quick, right? If the guiding principles of fidelity, bravery, and integrity are not ingrained in the hearts and minds of those sworn to me... Yeah. Right. So what he's saying is it's not a matter of creating new rules. It's that the people there, they didn't have fidelity, bravery, and integrity because they were acting corruptly. But I don't understand.
Corrupt. The word corrupt is not anywhere read into this. What he's saying is that the people were way too zealous because of their probably political biases, and that they weren't exercising the analytical rigor that we would expect our intelligence agencies to exercise as. Borrowing words from his analysis, corruption is not.
Then I would colloquially use the term corruption. Maybe legally it doesn't meet that definition, but I think that I'm within my rights to say that an FBI that is overzealous enforcing their bias to unlawfully spy on people through things like FISA warrants would be corrupt.
Okay, that's fine. If that's your interpretation, that's okay. But that's not what Durham stated. But okay.
Now, I like getting to this again. The only reason we got onto this was me describing the discrepancy between how confidential human sources, in the case of suspected Russian spy Igor Dushenko that was paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign, and how they didn't even talk to him at first, and he was unable to verify. And then when they did talk to him, he said, yeah, I don't know about any of this. It was just basically bar talk, right? They still spied on Trump's team as a result of that. But when we have a confidential human source, and I talked to the guy in charge of Burisma, and he told me he paid $5 million to Joe Biden to fire Viktor Shokin. And then I told him that was a bad idea. And then later in 2016, when Trump won, I said, see, wasn't that a bad idea? Because now Hillary lost, and now it's going to be Trump, and he's going to be upset. And he said, don't worry about it. The current prosecutors, nothing will come to light. They'll bury the investigation, which is what happened.
Okay, but we don't know. We have no idea right now if a Hunter Biden investigation has taken place, right?
I would say it's not just a Hunter Biden investigation. It is an investigation into Joe Biden that would be warranted.
Okay. But I'm just to be clear, we don't know if any of these investigations have taken place. Right?
I suppose you could say you don't know what you don't know.
Well, not suppose. We literally have no evidence whatsoever that any of these investigations.
It would be hard for me to have evidence to prove a negative. That's true. Okay. Right? But the question I have for you is, if we later find out definitively, if Chris Wray or someone comes out and says we have not investigated Joe Biden yet, will you admit that that is a double standard and negligent?
I don't know what other information the FBI has available to it. Will you admit that it's possible that the FBI has exculpatory information that would preclude an investigation?
I would assume that would be because they started an investigation to find that exculpatory evidence.
Well, you don't know that. Did they start an investigation to get this confidential human source to talk about Zlochensky?
Well, that I don't know.
Okay,
but
exactly.
So,
wait. Is it possible that this confidential informant was literally speaking because of an investigation into the Bidens?
I suppose it could be that it was an investigation into Hunter. But again, this is a stretch. I'm just saying it's a stretch.
Okay. Well, none of this is true. I'm just saying we don't know. But okay, wait. Also, listen. Hold on. Fuck, because it's late. Do you work tomorrow?
No.
Okay. Do you want to? I start streaming tomorrow at like noon. Do you want to? We can go over all this tomorrow if you want to. Okay.
I'll have to talk to my wife. I'll message you later. But can I just make one quick
make your
point
final plea, and then I'll be streaming all day tomorrow. You can hop in anytime. We can keep going over this. I've got a doc site with a little stuff right now. Yeah, go ahead.
There are a bunch of shell companies that we find out about the Bidens that the IRS tried to reach into, right, to find out where this money was coming from. There are a bunch of allegations that Joe Biden's living high in the hog and seems to be having more money than his salary would entail. The final thing I'll say about this is this. My contention has always been that there should be a non-double standard at places like the FBI. I think the fact that we see so much gnashing of the teeth at even an impeachment inquiry shows that it's not that people on the left that supported any investigation into people that they didn't like connected to Trump. It's not that they're worried about due process and norms. It's that they'll do anything to prevent the FBI and Joe Biden looking bad by having a serious public investigation into these allegations. There is more smoke here than there was with anything with Biden or with Trump. And that's why I'm saying the double standard is the lack of the FBI and the politicians' curiosity in investigating these things.
Okay. And you can say that, but every single person here, you included, knows that if you want to talk about smoke, even if he's done nothing wrong, Trump acts like the guiltiest motherfucker in the history of any person that has ever fucking opened their mouth ever, and he has never done himself any favors in terms of looking more guilty than any other motherfucker in the room constantly, right?
But that shouldn't be the standard.
I understand that shouldn't be the standard, but I'm just saying, we're not talking about FBI investigations. You were giving a broad pulse of the political climate, or a broad take of the political climate in the United States, about people looking at Trump one way and looking at the Bidens another way. If you look at Biden and you look at his life of public service, of being a senator, of all of that, and you compare that to Trump's life of lies, of Obama birth certificate, of all the other the grandmother pussy and all this shit, to come away from that not trusting Trump as much as you might trust Biden, I don't think that takes a hardcore politically partisan mind. I think that's probably an ordinary thing that a lot of people would end up with no ill will or political bias being there. I'm just saying. Not saying that justifies the FBI acting in an improper way or in being politically partisan, but I can understand why people would view one person a bit differently than the other one.
Well, I think if they're biased, I think if you look back even before Biden was running out, remember he had to drop out of running for president once because of a plagiarism scandal. He lied just the other day about being at Ground Zero the day after.
What was his plagiarism scandal? Joe Biden plagiarism scandal.
It's like in the, what was it, the election, 88?
It confirmed that Biden had used 5 pages of a law review article in a 15-page paper without quotation or citation in 1965. Oh, I'm sorry. This was in 1987?
Mm-hmm.
And was this when he went to school in 1965?
I don't know exactly. I forget the details of it.
Forgive me if I'm not taking that as seriously. 60 years ago?
No. It was about him. I mean, you could look it up. It derailed his campaign for president in like 87, 88. But yeah, I would say that he has had a long history repeat with lies. He lies almost every time he opens his mouth. He just lied. I just saw an NPR article.
Okay. All right. Listen, tomorrow we can go over this. Because every time I look up something you're saying, right, I thought there was a huge plagiarism. I thought something serious happened. But now it sounds like he cheated. Was this in high school or college?
I don't know the exact details.
Isn't that pretty important?
I think the fact that it was important enough that it forced him to drop out of the race in 1988 shows that there were allegations that he was someone plagiarizing that affected that election then. He dropped out. It was a big story then. I remember watching like Johnny Carson that was even making fun of Biden for it then. I don't know if the plagiarism scandal was because something he did in high school. I thought it had to do with like speeches and stuff that he was writing, where he was supposedly stealing stuff from speeches on the campaign and stuff as well, in addition to things that he had done in papers that he had written. But I don't know the specifics of it. I'm just saying that there have been people that have been criticizing Joe Biden for being a liar since back in the 80s, right? You said grab him by the pussy was a reason to impugn Trump, that people would distrust him. I'm just saying that it's been known about Biden for a long time that this is something that people said, that he's duplicitous, he's all kinds of things that we could talk about. It's really irrelevant to the grand scheme of what we're talking about. I'm just saying, I don't think that Biden's this rosy character that you're portraying.
Okay.
His boy was a grand wizard of the KKK, right? Robert Byrd, that he eulogized, I believe, so.
I bet Donald Trump has probably talked to the guy too. Didn't he fly in Epstein's child rape plane? So I don't know why we would use like that connection to impugn his character. I'm just saying that what you just said means absolutely nothing. But okay, listen, tomorrow, if there's more that you wanna bring out, okay, we could go over. I'll be streaming all day tomorrow, okay? So you can hop on, okay?
I'll message you. All right, see you.
Love you,
bye. 1 second here. Let me find out how to get out of this call. Hopefully I'm not still. Oh, I am still.
You are still here. We're all listening to you. Figure out how to leave. I just want to get the full groundwork of, without any external research, I'm clearing my mind of everything I might know about this. I want to hear his side of everything, and then if I understand his completely, then we can kind of go from there.